Give me 2 seconds. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 3 of C4S Villains. I am your host, JB, and I am here with my co-host, the legendary Vash. And today, we are joined by a very, very special guest, one of my good friends, episode Chris Conkling from the Pop-O-Holics podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts out right now. It has been a dream to have Chris on one of my shows. Chris and I did a best one, worst one together. That was so much fun. I also did a best one, worst one with Brian from Pop-O-Holics. Got to get Christian on. Got to get that happening. But Chris, it is an honor to have you on the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Dude, the honor's all mine. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about some sweet comic book media goodness.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Vash, episode 3. How you feeling, man?
It's great to be back here all the time. Like I always say, it's a privilege to be here to do this with James, and I'm finally happy to finally meet one of the people from Pop-O-Holics. Says James always talks about it all the time. When he said, "I'll just guest on their show," I'm like, "Great! I would definitely take a listen." And then I'm like, and he tells me like, "Next month we're gonna be on their show." Like, "Oh, awesome! Can't wait to do that too."
Yeah, I'm happy to finally meet you in person too, man. This is awesome.
Likewise.
Yeah. Chris, do you want to talk about what are you guys are going to be doing for February on Pop-O-Holics?
Yeah, absolutely. So on our show Pop-O-Holics, every month we concoct a specific theme, and then all of our main episodes are basically centered around that particular theme. And this month, in February, we really wanted to highlight creators. So as James and Vash already mentioned, we're going to have them on the show toward the end of February. We're going to be talking about some comic books, but the basis is we're going to invite creators onto the show. We've asked them to choose a specific piece of media that kind of represents what they do, and they basically force us to watch it and talk about it. So we're really excited to go forward.
Yeah, I am very, very excited for that entire series in February. You guys definitely subscribe to the Pop-O-Holics podcast. It is so much fun listening to these guys talk about movies and pop culture. So it's going to be a blast. I can't wait to have Vash on the show because that's going to be so much fun.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
All right, so I want to go right off the top, talk about what you guys have been consuming over the past week. Chris, you are our guest, so we'll start with you.
So, what have I been consuming? Well, when The Mandalorian Season 2 ended, as I'm wont to do when something Star Wars related ends, I need more Star Wars in my life as soon as possible. So I actually have been rewatching Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Have either of you seen that show?
Yes,
awesome.
I haven't seen the final season yet, though.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to talk anything about the final season, just in case others haven't seen it as well.
I as well just started my rewatch as well.
Nice. How far are you into the show?
I'm doing in the story chronological order. So I'm finally I just go by the website and like watch episode 2 about season 3 or go to season 4 and episode 5, which is so weird and confusing.
Right. There's a lot of like jumping around.
So much jumping. It's very confusing. Like I just hope to get to the part where it's just watch the next 6 episodes straight. I'm like, okay, good. Just press play next episode. But I'm currently
You hit that around like season 4. Around season 4 it's like just go
I did see that. I'm like, oh, thank God. I go all the way halfway down, finally, just straight through. But I just finished the movie, and now I'm currently on season 1 and watching the first 3 episodes. Then I'm going to jump back to season 4, if I'm correct. Very confusing.
Yeah, I love that Star Wars has actually released an official chronological order for the show. To be perfectly honest, I watched it when it was airing on television, and there were moments where I was like, why is it jumping around so much?
Yeah.
But a couple years after the show was canceled the first time, Star Wars thankfully released that chronological order. I too have been watching it in that chronological order. It's so good. Like you really do get to follow these characters through the Clone War. And you know, people now with The Mandalorian season 1 and 2 are I think some Star Wars fans are discovering Dave Filoni's work for the first time. Maybe Star Wars fans that don't necessarily like the animated stuff. But one of the things that I've gleaned from rewatching the Clone Wars is how well he's able to humanize the clones. If you're just watching the movies, if you're just watching the prequels by themselves, they're really nothing characters. Like, they have no personalities. They may as well be droids. And I think that's kind of like the comparison that George Lucas was going for. Like, both sides have these kind of like mindless soldiers. But Dave Filoni does such a good job at making these clones feel like fully fleshed out, unique characters. One episode I wanted to bring attention to specifically was The Deserter. It's an episode in season 2. And the premise is Captain Rex is injured in the middle of a mission. And he and his troops basically have to set up camp at a nearby farm that's run by an ex-clone, his wife, and their children.
I remember that.
It's such a good episode. And it's a smaller story. We're not like getting huge battles or anything like that. But it really dives into like the psychology of the clones and how their programming really doesn't run as deep as we're kind of led to believe it is if you're just watching the films.
Yeah.
And it's just this beautiful character piece. And that's something we would have never been able to get in the movies by themselves. So hugely appreciative of Dave Filoni's work and what he's brought to the Star Wars universe.
Definitely.
I just want to add to what he was saying that I have a question. Do you, now watching this years later and everything, do you think the CG animation style that they used back then, do you think it still holds up, or roughly like there are some scenes where where you scratch your head, you be like, still it's past, like, because that's how I feel. Like, I still enjoy the story is what drives it, the whole Anakin, the Force is what drives it the most. But there are times where some scenes with the whole animation where I kind of question it, but it's because it's been years, almost 20 years.
Yeah, when I was rewatching season 1, you can tell that the graphics are a little dated. Thankfully, they've chosen like an aesthetic that I think is going to last well over time, but you can tell that the animation just isn't quite there. But once you hit season 4, the animation becomes really fluid. You can tell they have a little bit more money to work with. They've kind of really learned how to make the show well by that point. And we're getting closer to like movie style action in that season. So yeah, they've definitely experienced some like growing pains over the production of the show, but I mean, what show doesn't go through that,
Yeah,
True.
I definitely think the animation holds up for me. Like,
Oh, it
I
still
guess
does,
because
yeah.
I'm so attached to it. You know what I mean? Like, I really do love that style. Pedro, I love 99. I love Fives too.
Fives,
Like,
yes.
like you said, Chris, like the Clone Wars series gives you so much into like the human lives of these clones. When you watch the movies, it's so easy to just, like you said, see them as like these drones because they never take off their helmets.
Yeah.
They're just these mindless things that we just see in a war. You know what I mean? So actually getting to see them on the show, getting to see how they are clones, but they're also individuals at the same time.
Yeah.
So I love that. Now I need to rewatch the series.
Dude, even like Commander Cody in episode 3, who
Yes.
arguably has like the most to do as a clone in any of those movies. Granted, it's awful what he does. Still feels like a really flat character, but in Clone Wars, he's fleshed out a little bit more. You get to see the relationship between him and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Way more. So by the time we get to like execute Order 66, there's been a past. Those characters have had a relationship built up, which is way better in my opinion.
And plus, to add about Rex as well, like, it shows the loyalty that he had for Anakin and plus Ahsoka, like the loyalty, because if you guys have also seen Rebels, Rex was still alive and everything, and he had that type of relationship with the Rebels, with Ezra and the other new people, and I love that because it shows how these again are still humans. Just because they're clones, people just kept seeing them as droids, like they have mindless people. But once these clones showed their skills, like, hey, we're also humans, and that's when Ezra and them kept changing their mind, like, oh, clones were not just clones, they were also having personality, life, kids. That's why with the episode that you saw about the kids and everything, that is real life.
Yeah. There's also an episode where we get like an intro to Order 66, where there's one clone. I can't remember exactly what happens to him, but I'll just say, for lack of a better term, he malfunctions. And we see the aggression that comes out. I thought that was really, really cool.
Right.
Like, the Clone Wars is some of the best Star Wars stuff you can get, man. Like, the series is just so good. Like, Clone Wars is what solidified Palpatine as like my favorite Star Wars character of all time. I always loved Palpatine. I am a dark side user for sure. But just seeing him taking over the Senate, seeing those there's certain episodes and scenes where he's stealing money from the treasury, and it's
Yeah.
just like to fund the empire. It's amazing what he's able to accomplish.
It's
Yeah,
just
his manipulative nature really shines
Yes.
in the Clone Wars.
it's just amazing how people just work through to do it and don't see like he doesn't have like people don't act like this dude does not have an evil face, like in the way he smiles, the way he smirks. I'm like, he has an evil face. Nobody notices, like, and the way he just talks to Padme and talks about Anakin.
He looks like a politician. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? He just
true.
looks like a sleazeball politician.
That's normal. That's
Yeah.
normal for that world.
But overall, I'm so happy to watch Clone Wars because I rewatched. No, sorry, not rewatch. I actually saw Rebels while it was airing, and with the new animation, with Dave and everything, what he was putting in the story. I never rewatched Clone Wars until now because of Disney Plus, and watching the whole 2 seasons of Mandalorian as a binge, it just made me re-love Star Wars again, and that's why, like, you know,
That's awesome, dude.
I should start back from the beginning. What made me fall in love with Star Wars? It was the comics, and that was the original Clone Wars that I saw as a kid 15 years ago. So I'm like, I think I should start watching it once more again, and I'm enjoying it. And it's such a good time because I can't wait to get to when Anakin gets dark, Ahsoka becoming the white saber and everything, and saying that she's not a Jedi no more. Can't wait to see that again because, like James said, I never saw the last 2 seasons because I stopped because of Disney XD with the weird time slots that kept changing and everything back then. So the 2 seasons are the last 2 I never saw. So I can't wait to see that.
I think you're gonna dig it. It's cool.
Can't
Yeah,
wait.
I can't wait to see the final season, but I've never seen it in chronological order. I've seen the entire series, minus the final season, of course, like twice, but I've never watched it in chronological order. So
You
that would
should.
be a lot of fun.
It
to
improves the
experience.
experience. Like
Yes.
the story's linear.
Nice.
It
I
works
don't know
much-
why they initially chose to release it the way they did,
What?
but
What?
it's a linear story.
What I understand why not Disney Plus just puts it like here's an option: watch it how it was released or watch it chronologically. I wish they would do that.
They
It's
should.
something, like they have the app, it's their service, they could do it. I just don't understand why don't you do it already instead of
Yep.
us going to different seasons, scroll down, find the episode. It like and it's hard because you have a controller on your phone. I mean, of the TV, so you gotta scroll down, scroll down. Instead, I wish they could have that service. It would be a great addition to it.
Maybe in the future they made a playlist where they list the MCU in chronological order. So
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
sure at some point we'll see that on the platform.
Probably the plan
Yeah,
that works.
that would
Yeah.
be awesome. Hey, Bob Iger, I know you're watching this right now.
This is
Please
a
do
great
that. That would
addition.
be awesome for the fans. But yeah, have you been watching anything else besides Clone Wars?
That's really, I mean, that's been taking up most of my time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Vash, I'm going to toss
It's
it
a
to
lot.
you.
Like I said behind the scenes, I don't know why I did this to myself a couple of days ago, but like my team will always say, "Why do you watch bad stuff instead of watching Hunter x Hunter?" I'm like, I don't know. I should be a late night doing other stuff, but I watched Ghost Rider. The first one, I think the 2004, 2006 was with Nicolas Cage, and I love Ghost Rider in the comics. He's super powerful. He's a beast. He could fight the Hulk, Wolverine. There's so much things I could talk about Ghost Rider comics, but Nicolas Cage one. It's a guilty pleasure. That's the best word I could say. Because if you watch this and you say it's good, I will question you. Because Ghost Rider, watching it now, did not age well. Like Nicolas Cage, he's Nicolas Cage, the actor, good or bad, however you want to put it. But entertaining, the way he screams. And I love the one thing they put right in this film is the mythos of the first Ghost Rider, with the whole contract. The first Ghost Rider was the one in the horse, so I love how the lore was right. I noticed that they put the Easter eggs behind him when he has his motorcycle. He put like the cars around him, showing that who was the next one as well. So I love the little small type of Easter eggs. But it was enjoyable film still. I did not finish the last 15 minutes because I know how bad it was with the whole fight with the devil and everything. I'm like, I'm good. I enjoyed what I saw. And it was fun, but I just want a good Ghost Rider. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a great one. I wish he continued, but with who knows how Kevin Feige is going to do him in the future. But enjoyable film. I had a good time. I question myself why I did it still, but I had a good time.
No, I think entertaining is definitely the best adjective you could use to describe
Yeah,
that movie.
like I just
Without
can't
a
put so
doubt.
much thoughts to it. Like all I could say was I had a good time.
It's generous. That's a very generous adjective to use for that film. It's, dude, Vash, it's so funny that you watched that movie. I don't know why I mentioned this off air, but like one of my co-hosts, Brian Dupree, literally just watched that movie as well, and I'm questioning whether or not the first Ghost Rider film's actually making a comeback. James, you said that. Did you watch it, or you were planning on watching it?
The first one, I rewatched the first one.
Okay.
After I talked to you guys, I was like, all right, it's time to watch it.
I guess I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since theaters, which
really
is
that long?
Oh,
a long
man.
time ago. Yeah, I think I saw it. Oh gosh, I hate to admit this. I saw it twice in theaters,
Oh, twice. Wow.
but yeah, I don't think I've seen it since then. So it'll get a rewatch at some point.
I think the last
It's
time
fun.
I think the last time I rewatched was like probably 2015, 2014. But since then, I know better. Like my improvement of how to watch films and how they're made got better. So I knew like I don't need to watch that film again. But but Disney Plus bought Fox and they made it. So like you know what, it's there. James had a topic last week of bad comic films, and I'm like, you know what? Let me watch something that's bad, but guilty pleasure
Dude.
though.
Film is subjective. Never feel bad for liking what you like.
True.
James
True.
and I disagree on several things.
All
He has
the
told
time.
me about it.
But we're
He's
still
told-
friends. So I watch Iron Man 3 every single Christmas season. In the last couple of years, I've made it a point to let him know that I'm watching Iron Man 3.
I would love to have you on the commentary track. I think that would be so much fun
I'd be
to
down.
talk to someone who actually enjoys that movie, because I just want to rage quit every time I even start that movie. It just pisses me off.
This is pretty interesting because he enjoys it. James hates it, and I'm in the middle. I'm like, okay, I'm alright. It's cool. They have stuff I love in the comics, extremists and then suits, but like, how do you just fall flat when you have so much great ideas? So this would be a nice trio to do commentary. Like one in the middle, one who hates it, and one who loves it. So like, phew, a nice
See,
balance.
man, total subjectivity.
Yeah, like you said, it's all subjective. Like Ghost Rider's awesome. In the right lens, I think Batman and Robin is a masterpiece. If you look at that movie in the right way, it is gold of cinema, bro. It is one of the greatest comedies ever made.
Dude, Batman and Robin, I've grown an appreciation for over time. I used to hate them when I was younger, but like those movies are paying homage to Batman 66. Like they're supposed to be campy, but coming off of the Tim Burton Batman films, people were like, I don't want that. I got used to the darkness. I want more of that. But those films are fun, man. There's so many different versions of Batman. Like there's a Batman for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, Batman Forever is kind of dark. Like it's not as campy as Batman and Robin. Like it's kind of dark because it goes like so much into the psyche of Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? But man, Batman and Robin is awesome. I need to rewatch that actually.
I need to actually rewatch those films since I saw them when I was 8, 9 years old. So I honestly don't remember those. So if you count like me watching them now, technically it would be like a first rewatch, first watch, because I don't remember any of the 80s and 90s Batman or plus Superman films. So like me watching those for the first time, that's how it will feel like.
Dude, keep this guilty pleasure film viewing train going, man. Every week, just talk about a new guilty pleasure film.
You know what? I'll probably
That'll
do
be
that.
fun.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we can make it a segment.
Yeah. But what else I've been watching other than Ghost Rider is Batman Beyond. I'm still continuing my amazing childhood rewatch of Batman Beyond. I'm on season 2, episode 4 or 5. 'Cause last week I said episode 1 through 3. I did 2 more. I was trying to do a couple more, but Batman Beyond is so enjoyable still. Terry, I love Terry. Like seeing this now older and knowing more of the Easter eggs of things that they mention about Nightwing, Dick Grayson, Joker, and other stuff. It's just now it hits you much faster and you understand what are those type of references. So it's very enjoyable in that aspect. And I love how Terry is his own character, even though he's like another Robin for Bruce, but he is his own version of Batman. But at the same time, he skipped the Robin sidekick role. He just went straight to the Batman role. So he has a lot more pressure. So he's trying to know how to handle his own life as Batman, but as his personal life, how to handle both. So it's very intriguing. So I'm really enjoying this rewatch after many years later.
Yeah,
I love
Beyond
Batman
is-
Beyond.
Yeah, it's awesome. there's only one thing, like when we get the big reveal that he's Bruce's son, I kind of wish we got that earlier on in the series. Like I
True.
feel like halfway through it was just like, holy crap, like, because I mean you could play with the dynamic between them, like how would Terry feel about that, knowing exactly what happened to Bruce's parents, the same thing happened to him, and both of them became Batman, and then to find out that Amanda Waller set up the entire thing. Like I would love to see like how he felt about that and how that would work with Bruce.
Yeah, I that would be cool. I really do dig like the surrogate father relationship that he has with Bruce Wayne in his teens, though. I'm wondering if he would have been able to process that information as well as a teenager as he did as an adult, because he finds that out as an adult, so he has some life experience. He's not really like an angsty teen anymore.
Agreed.
You know, so he's like, okay, I can accept this. That's a little manipulative, but that kind of that tracks with how my mentors acted his entire life in regards to like children's sidekicks. So that would be an interesting shift in the dynamic, though, if they introduced that earlier on.
I agree, because when we saw Terry talking to the whole like finding out that, hey, I am Bruce's son and everything, he did not get mad. He did not throw a whole tantrum. When we first saw him in the whole season 1, he was fighting against kids being bullies and everything. He was having fights after school, and that's how he got in trouble with his father and everything. And that's how a couple of minutes later his father died that night. But then finding out now when he was an adult, he knows how the experience of Batman, he knows how to control his temper, he knows how to understand things, and he knows to understand and not just react. He knows how to listen. Like, oh, okay, Amanda Waller did this because she believes that we need a Batman in this world, and she understood that, wait, if Bruce is getting old, who's gonna protect us? Because Superman, Static, and all these people, like, we need a Batman in Gotham. Gotham is not gonna be okay without Batman. So she gave the reason, and Terry understood. Like, okay, regular Terry would be like, throw a chair, probably kill her or something. But he's like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I understand it.
Yeah, Pedro, I think you're correct. I think that that backstory from Terry did happen in Justice League
Correct.
Unlimited.
It did.
It was Justice League Unlimited.
It was in a crossover with Static Shock as well.
Yeah,
I think that episode. God, this is gonna show my nerdiness. The episode's called Epilogue, and it's the season 2 finale of Justice League Unlimited.
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is another great series that I would love to rewatch.
Rumor is that after Static Shock comes to DC Universe, from DC Universe app to HBO Max in February, rumors that Justice League, the original and Unlimited, will be coming out in March, because it's gonna, promote the Justice League Zack Snyder coming out later in that March, which we're talking about later. But yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah. All I've been watching is just anime and House. Like I haven't
That's
seen
a weird
House
combination.
Yeah, I'm like, House with anime.
because we haven't watched House in years, and it's finally time. We thought it was finally time to rewatch it. It's such a good series. Like Hugh Laurie is amazing in that role. It made sense why he got paid $400K per episode.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I mean, without him, the show doesn't work. I don't care about anyone else really without Hugh Laurie. But besides that, just like I've been rewatching Black Clover like a madman. Like I love Black Clover. I've been rewatching that a lot with House. So that's pretty much all I've been watching for the past week.
I've only seen a couple episodes of House, and I have seen 0 episodes of Black Clover, nor have I read the manga. I know you guys are definitely more like ingrained in the anime community than I am. James and I talk about anime every once in a while, but I'm like, I'm kind of basic when it comes to anime. Like I just read Demon Slayer, which is now one of like the #1 anime and mangas in the world.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Mangas, yes. Anime, I think just broke a lot of records in Japan. I'm not sure if it's top #1 yet. I think it will be probably by next week or so.
I think it didn't beat out Spirited Away.
It did, yeah. It did.
For the highest grossing film in Japan. That's insane.
I think it's right behind, about to beat Titanic worldwide as well. But it depends, because technically that's the only movie out in Japan. So if it continues, it could.
Yeah, but I didn't want to steer the conversation away from Black Clover. Why should I read Black Clover, James?
I mean, I think it's really good. I think Black Clover is a lot of fun. Like if you like classic shonen stories, I think you'll have a lot of fun with Black Clover. Like I'm probably gonna get hate for this, but like what Naruto was for people in terms of like a character that teaches you to literally never give up ever and to never back down until you have nothing left, until you're dead. That's Asta for me in Black Clover.
That's awesome.
So I love that. I think Black Clover is maybe the best like magical type of anime that exists. Honestly, it's definitely my favorite. Like the way they take magic, like they'll take something like mirror magic and they will make so many different ways to make mirror magic cool and to give it so many different abilities. So with stuff like that, it's really, really interesting for me. Like the story's pretty straightforward. It's just really fun to watch. So if you want like a super fun shonen anime, I love Black Clover. I would definitely recommend it.
And
Yeah,
just
I
for
might
me to-
I might have to pick it up.
And just for me to add one more thing to that is, if you know with some movies or some TV shows, they have tropes, right? So think of Black Clover with the most movie TV show tropes, and this Black Clover show plays that route, but does it in a good way where you're still entertained, even though you have seen all these tropes for the past 40, 50 years of TV and movie knowledge, but
Right.
it still keeps you entertaining. That's the best way I could try to compare it in the movie side, so you can have that idea of how Black Clover is.
That
Yeah,
makes
and
sense.
And his rivalry with the secondary MC, I think, is one of the best rivalries in shonen. Honestly, like I really love the rivalry between Asta and Yuno. I think it's dope. Yes, Cowboy Bebop is another amazing anime series.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
seen Cowboy Bebop,
Who are you asking?
Chris?
Oh yes,
course
yeah,
you
I
have.
watched it in high school. Yeah,
Okay.
it's one of my
Konami?
favorite anime of all time.
Have you
Nice.
seen Trigon?
I haven't, and I know you're gonna hate me for that.
Well,
I haven't seen Trek.
trust me, two of my teams have not seen it, but Trigon just came out the same year as Cowboy Bebop, and most people
I
that have
know.
seen that have seen Trigon have not seen Cowboy Bebop. Most people that have seen Cowboy Bebop have not seen Trigon. So I'm one of those people that have seen Trigon, have not seen Cowboy Bebop. So trust me, I understand.
I don't want to compare Trigon and Cowboy Bebop to what I'm about to compare it to, but it's kind of like when Naruto and One Piece first came to the States, and people were like, am I doing pirates or am I doing ninjas?
Ninjas, yeah, I
I'm
get
making
it.
the choice now, and for the next 15 to 20 years, this is the path I'm set on. I will not invest in the other one. Like that was my position when I was like
Understandable.
13 years old. I was like, ninjas it is, and I still haven't read a single chapter of One Piece. Nor do I think I ever will at this point because it's so long. But I've heard wonderful things about it. No hate towards One Piece.
As much as I could say, if you ever do, take your time. There's no rush. It's been out already for 20 plus years. So if you plan to, take your time. If buy one volume. If you like the first volume, there's only I think 9 chapters, 10 chapters. If you like it, then continue. If not, you just have one volume on your shelf and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it.
I'm 12 episodes into the anime and 20 chapters into the manga.
And
Of
he
One
enjoys
Piece?
it.
Yeah.
And he enjoys it.
So full progress. I think the manga is better. Honestly, I would prefer to read it than watch it.
It's just pacing wise, yeah.
Yeah, pacing wise, I think the way the story unfolds is way better in the manga compared. Same thing with Black Clover too. Like a lot of people, like Ray that does anime lately with us, he prefers to read Black Clover compared to watching the anime, which I
Yeah.
completely get.
That's usually what I end up doing too. I'll always read first, and then if I find that I'm invested in the characters and I want to see like the fights animated, I'll go and watch the anime.
Yeah, Brian, it's a pretty straight adaptation, straight from the manga to the anime. There's barely anything different, honestly. Yeah, Vash, a great question. One Piece or Black Clover? If you're talking about One Piece, some things like the order of events are different
Yes.
in some things, but it's pretty much the same, right, Vash?
But most people tell me to, if they give me the option of manga or anime for One Piece, the first thing I ask them, do you like to read manga? And if they tell me yes, I'll tell them to read the manga of One Piece instead, because you'll read it much faster. You will not have to see the whole animation pacing that's horrible of it. Still entertaining, but if you want to read fast, and if you don't have that much time a day, and if you're a content creator, read it. Because anime, you will be watching 4 episodes in 1 hour and some change. Instead, you can read the manga and you will probably read that much faster. That's why.
Yeah, I got through the manga a lot faster than watching the anime. But I want to get into the news. Our first news topic of today, of this episode, is a picture that we saw on the Marvel Studios Reddit that is a behind-the-scenes photo from Spider-Man 3 of a Feast truck. And we all know who runs Feast, Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative.
Yes.
Now, off air, we were talking about this, that this could just be a dope Easter egg for films to come. But I want to know from chat and from you guys, do you think that we'll see Martin Lee at all in Spider-Man 3? Like, even for just like a second? Because I know we have a lot going on. Like, this is also connected to Multiverse of Madness. So I highly doubt they'll waste that much time doing something like that, but you never know. So what do you guys think?
Chris, go first.
I'll start with you.
I think from what we've heard announced for the film, this film is already juggling so much that Martin Lee would just put it over the edge. And to be perfectly honest, in my opinion, he wouldn't have been the first thing to break the camel's back. Like, I think the film is trying to do a lot from what we've heard about it. I am totally content with seeing a Feast truck in the background of a scene and going, oh my God, look at that. That's really cool. And then like maybe getting Martin Lee in the next movie. You could put him in a Sinister Six movie. Like, he could easily be a member of the Sinister Six.
Oh, yeah.
But just the fact that we already have confirmation that Alfred Molina is coming back as Dr. Octopus, Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro. Like, this film will probably have its own MCU villain as well. It's a lot. And I always get very cautious when Sony starts to talk about a lot of things going on in a Spider-Man movie. So
yes.
I'm totally content with just a Feast truck in the background. Vash, what do you think?
So for me, Chris said it perfectly that if there was a Marvel movie of Spider-Man, I was like, okay, I trust you guys. You guys know how to put a lot of things together. We have seen Endgame. We have seen Infinity War. We've seen Captain America, Civil War. We have seen a lot of stories from the comics put into one, and it's done well. But when it's a collab with Sony, we have seen Sony mistakes. They always want to rush to the Sinister Six for some reason. I'm like, why are you guys trying to rush it? Just take your time. There's co-trilogies. There's having 4 or 6 movies. And Spider-Man makes you guys money. Don't ruin it. So it's like, if they want to put an Easter like Chris said, cool. I don't mind it. We have seen the game. Mr. Negative has gotten popular over the years, and also that's a Miles Morales villain as well in the comics. So they could have that for Spider-Man 4, but also, like, what are they trying to do? Because we have Venom and Carnage in the other Sony half of their universe. So like, and plus Morbius as well. So what are they trying to build? What are they trying to connect with the MCU and with the Spider-Man other side that they're trying to do? So that's what I'm curious to know, like, are they trying to control it, have it together, or are they trying to have that as an Easter egg overall?
Right.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I'm slightly just worried about Sony in general, like, because they have like most of the control, right, of what happens to Spider-Man. So there's a lot going on. It's a part of Multiverse of Madness, and I assume we're gonna see Electro and we're gonna see Doc Ock some way through traveling through the multiverse, right?
I'm sure.
I think we'll just see like a glimpse or like just like a couple seconds or a minute or two of each of these characters. I don't want this movie to get bogged down, because another thing that we also have to focus on in Spider-Man 3 is the whole reveal at the end of Far From Home with his identity being revealed. So how do we deal with that? You know what I mean? So that film has to focus on that and connecting to the multiverse with Doctor Strange and WandaVision. So there's a lot going on. I can't wait to see how it unfolds. They're definitely leading to Sinister Six at some point. I just hope they don't rush it. Like, just take your time. We already have Vulture. You already have Morbius set up. Doc Ock, Electro, Mr. Negative potentially. Just take your time.
Agreed.
And just wait. Like, I don't know why. Even in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, like, they were just trying to get to Sinister Six.
Oh, they're so excited.
Quickly.
Like, there's no need
they want it
for
so bad.
Yeah, like, there's no need for the rush. Like, we kept Sinister Six. You know the best way to have it? Call Spider-Man 6. That's like, literally have Spider-Man 4 in a different way, Carnage, and with Venom. Spider-Man 5 could be with Morbius trying to fix him. That's in the comics. You got Black Cat, because it also connects with Morbius in the comics. And then have Sinister Six for Spider-Man 6. I'm like, just like, that's how you write a movie. Just don't add
It's not a bad idea.
It's not.
You heard it here first, folks. 2030 Spider-Man Sinister Six.
Hey, it's a great title.
It's literally perfect.
Yeah, but I just want them to take their time. I really hope because of this new deal that Kevin Feige has a little bit more control in the creative aspects of building the universe,
Mhm.
because they are connected now. Like, they exist in their own spaces, but they're all intertwined into the MCU. So just please take your time. It doesn't make sense to rush it. Every time you rush it, that's why you fail. That's why Spider-Man 3 was terrible. Sam Raimi didn't even want to put Venom in there, and they forced him to, because for some reason they need three villains for whatever reason. And it's like, I understand you want to catch up to the MCU. They're 23 films deep, and most of them are fire, right? You want to catch up. Same thing with DC. That's why they rush straight into Justice League. But it's like, you have to take your time. You just have
Agreed.
to. Yeah. So next news topic that I wanted to talk about is one of my most anticipated movies of 2021. This was one of my most anticipated movies of 2020. And when it got delayed, my heart shattered into a million pieces. And finally, we are so close, 2 months away, guys, from Godzilla versus Kong. So we were going to talk about the first official trailer for Godzilla versus Kong and just how awesome it was. So Chris, please go first and let me know your thoughts on the trailer.
And also,
So-
who do you think is gonna win?
Okay, all right, I got you.
We'll get there, yeah.
So my relationship with Godzilla is fairly new. In 2019 on Pop-O-Holics, we had a whole month dedicated to Godzilla to celebrate the release of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, right? So a mutual friend of James and I, Danny Lopez, kind of introduced me to the character. We call him on our show the Godzilla Guru. He's a living encyclopedia of Godzilla knowledge. So as I said, my relationship with Godzilla is fairly new, but I have fallen in love with the King of the Monsters. And while I try to keep my expectations tempered when it comes to kaiju movies, this trailer's got me really hyped. I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
I didn't expect it to elevate my excitement to the degree that it did, but I am very, very excited for Godzilla versus Kong. And as far as who's going to win, I'm gonna say both of them, and I'll leave it at that.
Nice answer. I'll give it to that. And that's my answer as well. Because we know goddamn well if people have not seen the trailer correct, I'm sure I'm about to say it, but they're going to be fighting at the end. Mega Godzilla.
Yeah.
If you have not seen the first 5 seconds, like I told James before, right after, like, just saying he's fighting Mega Godzilla. And then just like, no, he's not. And then like 3 times.
I'll explain.
I know. But then he's going to say, I have not seen Godzilla King of Monsters yet, by the way. So when he explains it, I just want to add that note. But the trailer made me hype. That trailer is amazing. James knows that I'm not a big fan when they add rap music or any pop music, like, because we had this discussion, even though I'm being kind of like a hypocrite, because even though I like the movie Suicide Squad, so that's kind of hypocrite kind of note. But this trailer with the pop song really made me hype and extra excited for it. And
Yeah, bro.
just the CG, the animation, everything look amazing. Kong look freaking awesome. And like having that Thor type of moment, like about to just smash into Godzilla with his roar type of ice breath, I was just screaming out of my chair. Even though I wasn't doing a reaction, I felt like I was doing a reaction. I was like, "Let's go!" And then my girlfriend asked me like, "Why are you screaming to the screen? You don't have the lights on, Arthur. You're not doing a reaction." I'm like, "It's just kaijus versus a monkey. It's exciting." It's just awesome. Like, it was a moment just seeing as a kid, just seeing like animes or like bad movies of this version, but now seeing it in great version, hopefully stays great. It's exciting. James?
Yeah, like Brian said, like the first time that I saw Mecha Godzilla in the trailer after rewatching it a couple times, I lost my shit and I was analyzing every single scene with Godzilla. I was like, okay, the atomic breath looks more like a laser than actually how his atomic breath actually looks. His eyes look way more white
Red,
than they
yeah.
actually are in the other movies. There's a bunch of other stuff that makes him look way different. So here's why I didn't think it was going to be Mecha Godzilla being the villain of this movie. Because after King of Monsters, I was like, okay, this next movie is going to be Godzilla versus Kong in the beginning, and then they're going to team up at the end to fight something. But here's what I thought. At the end of Godzilla King of Monsters, I forgot what the organization is called, but they have the head, the only piece of the head of Ghidorah that's left, and you can see it in the background regenerating. So what I thought was that we were going to twist it and get Mecha Ghidorah. So that's what I thought. I thought we were going to get a mecha version of Ghidorah, because to me, Godzilla and Kong versus a mecha version of Ghidorah would be the craziest shit ever.
That would have been cool.
But that's why I didn't think it was Mecha Godzilla at first. But then when I saw the trailer the second time, I was like, holy shit, at 0.3 seconds of this trailer, that's Mecha Godzilla right there.
Yep.
And then
like 4
there's
seconds.
another shot in the trailer where you can see a diagram on a digital screen in the background that shows like the foot of a mechanized Godzilla. I'm like, bro. And then I start looking at all the other images. Like I said, I was like, the atomic breath looks different. The eyes look different. The way that he charges up, Godzilla charges up his atomic breath from his tail. Whether in the trailer you can see it starting from the middle of his back. There's so many different things. It's like, dude, this fight is about to be insane. The axe that King Kong has, oh my god, I lost my mind throughout that entire trailer.
It's made from a Godzilla dorsal.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
from the spikes from the back and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
When I saw that, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be awesome. Because I thought the first Godzilla was really good. I needed more Godzilla, less humans. And then that's what they gave us in King of Monsters. And I love King of Monsters. Kong Skull Island is good. I don't think it's that great. There are some scenes in the movie that I think are weird. But
Yeah, I agree.
King of Monsters is the shit. So I cannot wait.
I still need to see it.
It's awesome, bro.
But I agree what you said, because the first Godzilla, we saw him the last 15, 20 minutes of the film. I'm like, I'm sorry, humans, but I see ya every day. I don't give two F's about ya. Can I see my kaiju? That's what I came here for. But then we got him the last 20 minutes, like, all right, cool, this was still enjoyable. And then I just never got around to see King Monsters. But when I saw this movie, we barely saw humans. Like, yeah, we saw like a little girl. We saw type of Asian guy that looks like the evil bad guy that wants to build. Like, why does people want to build a mega Godzilla? Like, if you know you can't control them, why build one? You're gonna lose control of that one.
Because humanity's stupid.
Yep. What's wrong with humans? I don't care about humans in my kaiju movies. I just want to see Godzilla versus all of the other kaijus. I don't care about humans when it comes to kaiju movies. I don't care. Same thing with Transformers. Like, I want to see Autobots and Decepticons. I don't care about Sam Witwicky and his hot girlfriend screaming Bumblebee all the time
and explosions.
And all this crap. I don't care. I don't care at all.
But
those movies are not good.
Pedro, definitely go back and rewatch the trailer. There is a scene with Godzilla. His eyes are white, bro. That's not Godzilla. That is Mecha Godzilla. It's crazy.
I noticed you haven't answered the question yet. Who do you think will win?
Oh, I mean, it's the same as you guys. It's going to be both of them destroying Mecha Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
They're going to fight Doomsday and realize that the other's mother's name is Martha.
We kept saying that, yo, the
and
timeline,
Kong
the
will
memes,
die and then be resurrected.
Oh my god, the memes were amazing
Calling
that
it here.
day.
My thing is, what's going to happen after they defeat Mecha Godzilla? Because Godzilla is, in my mind, the king. So it's like, what does King Kong want to do after they defeat Mecha Godzilla? That's my question.
I'm sure they'll just like go back to their respective domains. You know,
Probably.
like they're like, all right, the natural order has been restored. I'm going back to my corner.
Because
like, see you in 100 years.
You guys said it perfectly. In all honesty, as much as we could joke around, Godzilla's the king of monsters. He has a title in the lore, in Japanese lore and everything. He is the kaiju. But after this film, like, knowing Warner Brothers and I forgot the other partner company that does the film with
Legendary.
Yes, thinking Legendary. What are they gonna do after this? Because this movie, they hope to make a lot of money. They want to make another sequel. Like, what can they do after? Like, what other big kaiju is there for them to fight? Unless they're gonna bring some type of aliens, and that I don't know.
Oh, there's so many monsters from Godzilla mythology. They could keep going for years.
Yeah, and Ghidorah's not from Earth. So, I mean, there could be other kaijus that they bring in. Another thing that I noticed, once I saw the trailer and I realized that my theory was off, I think they used Ghidorah's DNA to create the Godzilla skin.
That's possible.
I,
Yeah,
I think I
that's
think that's
possible.
how they did it because it like Ghidorah regenerates so quickly. So you could imagine taking that DNA, mixing it with Godzilla's DNA, because he's been beaten by other kaiju, so his blood and like DNA and fragments of his skin are all over the place. So I think they put the two together and create the Godzilla skin for Mecha Godzilla to ruin his image. We were talking about this in our text thread, and it's just like, yeah, this is like a slander campaign on Godzilla.
Totally. Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, it's gonna be so much fun to watch this movie. Like again, King of Monsters is just so much fun. The score is great. I actually like the human characters in King of Monsters because
Oh,
they're
really?
just there for the quips, and it's really just about the kaiju's. Like the humans are there so that we can have something to relate to watching these gods, watching these titans fight each other, right?
All right.
Instead of the first movie where everything was pretty much about the humans with some kaiju's on TV.
Hmm.
I will try to watch it this week so we can review it next Friday.
Yeah, I highly recommend you watching it. It's so much fun, bro. So much fun. And it's beautiful too. Like when Mothra is born,
That's
like
what I want to
oh
see.
my god, it's amazing when it comes out of the cocoon. Oh man,
I'm sure it looks excellent in 4K.
looks amazing, bro.
Oh, can't wait
All
then.
right, so next news topic, and Chris, I want to throw this to you so that the fans can see your comic book knowledge. We're going to be talking about the Batman Long Halloween animated movie
Yeah.
that was just announced that's going to be PG-13. We know that the Batman Matt Reeves trilogy is going to be loosely based on the Long Halloween. So, Chris, I would love for you to tell the people in chat what the Long Halloween is about roughly, and like just your expectations for it.
I was really excited to hear this announced at DC Fandom because, like you said, I think it's perfect marketing to coincide with the Batman. The Long Halloween is a comic book run from Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb, and it essentially focuses on Batman investigating a series of murders that are tied around holidays. And that's as much as I'll say about it because there are a lot of twists and turns in the book, and I do this all the time on our show too. But I want you to experience it for yourself. But Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb are have two of my favorite Batman stories of all time: The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. Dark Victory is the sequel to The Long Halloween. I highly recommend reading that as well. But in terms of Warner Brothers Animation and their adaptations of various comic book stories over the last decade or so, some of them have been really good. Some of them have been lesser, in my opinion. I really loved what they did with the Dark Knight Returns. They adapted that into a 2-part series.
Yes.
Each part is about an hour and a half. So if you watch the entire thing, it's roughly a 3-hour flick. And considering that we know that this is also going to be broken up into multiple parts, I believe, right? 2 parts. That was in
I
the
believe so,
that was
yeah,
in the
that's what it
announcement.
said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I have high hopes. I have really high hopes for this. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I am so excited for this because the Long Halloween, it introduces like so many villains because there's so many possibilities of who the holiday killer could be.
Right.
And what I like about it and what Matt Reeves talked about was this focuses on the detective aspects of Batman. Like this is not a situation where it's just like, oh yeah, I'll just show up places and punch people in the face. He actually has to do detective work to figure out what's happening and who's the cause of these murders. Like there's great interactions between him and Selena Kyle, everything between him and Harvey Dent
Mm-hmm.
before he becomes Two-Face. There's great stuff in The Long Halloween. So if you haven't read it, definitely check it out because that's what's been missing for me in all of the Batman movies. There has never been a straight up detective Batman movie. And that's what
I
that's
don't,
my
it's such an important piece of his mythos, and I don't know why filmmakers have shied away from it. I don't know why it's so hard to adapt that aspect of his character.
It's
I
because
mean,
of
we
the
gotta
action.
probably studios are probably like more action now. Forget detective work. We do see a little bit of detective work in The Dark Knight, where Bruce is like mulling over the ballistic data of the bullet in the wall, but like that's really it. So yeah, I'm excited to see this animated adaptation and what they do in the Matt Reeves movie. I hope we get a lot of detective goodness.
And
Yeah,
was
I really hope so.
And what's great about being DC animated version is because most of them usually hit. They're usually a solid 8 or above. So that's a great thing about these type of shows. I mean, these type of movies. So I haven't read it, so that's why I haven't given out thoughts about it. But I know of the comic. I don't know how great it is, but I just never got around to it. But I'm excited to see it, and I believe it's part two, 2 parts, because most of the movies that have been done animated has been 2 parts over the past couple of years, because it's because of Death of Superman, John Constantine. Most of those movies have 2 parts, or they've just been 2 hour films, because those creators know how well to adapt them and how well to have a nice feature length. Should they have 2 parts, or should they just make it longer? And I'm very happy to see how much effort and faith they put in it. So I'm hopefully to see a good adaptation of the Long Halloween.
I really liked the Death of Superman adaptation.
good.
It wasn't like a straight adaptation. They squeezed it into their animated universe. So I'm hoping that Batman: The Long Halloween is more akin to what they did with The Dark Knight Returns, where it's like a straight adaptation of the comic book.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying anything bad about Death of Superman. That was a great movie.
Yeah. Steve, is it better than War of Jokes and Riddles? In my opinion, I like it more than that. Yes, in my opinion, I think it's a little bit. It fits more into what I like reading than that. Like,
I
Chris,
haven't read
have you
that.
read that?
I haven't. The
should
War of Jokes and
definitely-
Riddles. I'll have to check it out.
Definitely check it out. Pedro, what would I like to see animated from a Batman story? You picked my 2 choices, man. Like White Knight. We talked
White
about
Knight.
White
Oh
Knight
my God.
on Pop-O-Holics podcast, and I was
That'd be
so
so dope.
happy that Chris and Brian brought it to my attention, because I didn't even know about it until they told me, and I read it. I'm like, oh my God, this is like one of my favorite Joker stories ever. It might be my favorite.
Sean
Like, it's
Murphy, it's his love letter to Batman.
Oh, it's
like
a beautiful
it's,
comic.
It's wonderful.
White Knight,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
is one of my top 5 Batman stories, and it's amazing. Me and Ray has told you about it before, so I just did not know that you did not read it before, but it was a
Yeah.
great series.
Yeah, really, really good. 3 Jokers. I haven't read the third issue yet, but 3 Jokers is really, really good, Pedro. Amazing. Yeah, Brian, definitely. 3 Jokers is definitely worth finishing. It's really, really good. The issues are really long, but it's good because of all of the story that you're getting inside
Oh, it's
of
a
it.
great story.
Chris, have you picked it up yet?
I haven't. I need to pick that up too.
Bro,
More
so good.
recently, I haven't been reading a lot of DC, but I need to.
Yeah, so good. All right, so next up, last piece of news that I wanted to talk about was Paul Bettany, of course, has been doing interviews talking about WandaVision, and something that he talked about was an end credit scene that was pulled from the end of Avengers Endgame that was Wanda taking Vision's body and pretty much reanimating it to be the precursor to WandaVision. So, what do you guys think about hearing this news? Do you wish that they put it at the end of Endgame, or are you okay with the fact that it wasn't in there so that you could be surprised when the announcement of WandaVision came out?
Chris, go ahead.
I'm okay with it not being at the end of Endgame, mostly because Endgame was so jam-packed full of emotion already. And that movie doesn't have a post-credit scene as it stands, purposefully, for that reason, because there's so much at the end of that film. But I love the idea of this post-credit scene, and I hope that maybe while they scrapped it for Endgame, maybe it's recycled for something we see in WandaVision. That'd be pretty dope.
That would be really dope.
I hope we see the flashback in the next couple episodes where she remembers that, oh, I kidnapped Vision from the Sword or Shield facility, wherever it was. And I hope we saw, like, because if most people saw the clip, she was going to the Westview town, and she went there with Vision's body inside the car and everything. And did it fit in the movie Endgame? I don't miss it, but I hope we do see as a flashback type of scenario within the next couple episodes to know how did she get there, how is she in this town, and how did she get Vision body? Because if most people saw episode 4, which we will be talking about in a few, that is an important scene for us to know how did we get from how we are now. So that'll be very important.
Yeah.
I know that Paul Bettany wishes the scene was in Endgame.
Yes,
During
he
one of
did
his
say that.
interviews, he was joking that like solely because he wanted participation royalties because he's not in that movie at all.
Yeah, he's like, damn,
But
it sucks that I didn't see my face. That like, but you have a whole 9 episodes of you, so that's great too.
right, there you go.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually glad that it didn't happen at the end of Endgame. I thought it was perfect to not have one because I mean it was the end game of that arc of the MCU, right? So like Vash said, I would love to see that in a flashback. I would love to see that happen in a flashback from Wanda in this. Before we get to WandaVision episode 4 review, and we're going to go into full spoilers for WandaVision episode 4, so be warned, we're about to go into spoilers. So there's been a lot of rumors on the internet whether it's going to be Evan Peters or Aaron Taylor Johnson coming into this as Pietro. I do not think it would be fair for Evan Peters to show up. Yes, his Quicksilver was cooler, but Aaron Taylor Johnson is the Quicksilver, is the Pietro that we know. They have that connection that we've seen from Age of Ultron. So I want to see him, and I just want Kevin Feige to retcon how garbage he was in Age of Ultron. What kind of fucking speedster can't dodge bullets? I digress.
He made a choice, James, to save a life.
Have done both. Like, have done both.
It's
What
like,
is the point?
Scoot the car in, get out of the way.
Exactly.
But like in the comics, we know that he's not fast as Barry. But like, there's no way you cannot dodge a bullet. You're a speedster. You're supposed to dodge bullets. That's literally the name of your superpower.
That's the one
Super
thing
speed.
you do.
Like,
Like-
if you cannot dodge an arrow by Hawkeye, but you cannot dodge a bullet either. So like, what's the point of you having super speed? Super speed is supposed to be super speed.
Not so Quicksilver.
Yeah, because I mean, even in Age of Ultron, someone shoots a bullet, it goes through the floor, and then he just stares at it as it goes in super slow-mo. But at the end, he can't dodge bullets. He should have been able to see them the exact same way that he saw them before, and then just dodge the bullets.
It's just what was the director of Age of Ultron again?
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon, thank you. He just wanted to kill him off, and probably Kevin Feige or the storyboards just wanted to kill him off just to have a dramatic scene and build some character for Wanda, because that's what's most likely the chance for her to have more character scene, her to be emotion, and then fall in love with Vision, and then that's how she was broken. But to answer your question, James, I hope we see the same actor, Elter Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we see him, because it would be weird if we see the Fox version, when that's like, if we bring him, Wanda will be like, wait, you're not my brother, you're somebody else. It just would be weird. Like, I'd rather we see the actual brother of her and just retcon the character, just like we have retcon Wanda not having no type of accent. Just do those things and we'll be satisfied.
Dude, I to speak to the accent a little bit, and I'll talk about Quicksilver as well, but I actually really do like the way that Elizabeth Olsen in Marvel has explained her accent going away over time.
Yeah.
The fact that in Age of Ultron, she was like, she hadn't lived in the States at all, like only Sokovia the whole time. So the accent was really thick and strong. But over time, as she becomes integrated into the Avengers and living in the United States, Black Widow like trains her how to subdue the accent a little bit for like more spy work. She adapts a little bit more. So I mean, it makes sense. And we'll talk about WandaVision too. But even in the show, there are moments in the show where her accent starts to come out when the illusion's breaking.
Right.
Yes.
So I really do like how they have utilized the accent interesting ways. But I know that it's a hot topic and gets on a lot of people's nerves.
My issue with the accent is it's bad, right? In Age of Ultron, it just sounds like they're in a Count Chocula movie. I just think it's bad. Like if it actually worked, I wouldn't care. Because I
Same.
mean, like it's like I have an accent, but I don't talk like that all the time. You know what I mean? Like I talk like this when I'm on the air and when I'm talking to you guys. So it's like I get it. Like I align with that more than anybody. I think, you know what I mean? But it's just like it was just so bad. It was jarring, honestly. Like listening to them talk to each other sometimes. But like you said, it makes sense over the progression of time of her losing the accent and being around
Within
more
the
Americans.
universe, it makes sense.
Within the universe.
That doesn't mean it's any less terrible. But
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't want to bury the lead anymore. Let's get into full spoilers for WandaVision episode 4. This is going to be the bulk of our show because there is just so much shit to talk about. Like, I have an entire Google Doc just of notes. So when the episode begins, it starts off
I love
with
it.
Monica Rambeau like coming back from being dusted. At first I was like, is this some kind of like, is she in like a dream sequence? Because the last time we saw her, she was thrown out of the alternate reality, and I thought she was just unconscious. But then you get inside the rest of the hospital, it's like, holy shit, this is everyone coming back
From the blip.
from the blip.
yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Chris, give me some of your favorite moments from episode 4.
Well, the opening, as you mentioned, is magnificent. When it comes to how like the average Joe dealt with the blip, we've only gotten glimpses of that in Spider-Man: Far From Home, and they kind of played it off as a joke. But in reality, like living through this would be an extremely harrowing experience. And I think that how they shot the cold open for this episode of WandaVision really illustrates like how scary it would be, especially for the people that got blipped out of existence, to wake up. As we can see from Monica, she thinks she's been asleep for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's been 5 years, and so much has happened in that time span. Like having to process all that information, as well as, you know, not everyone was blipped back together at once, as we see in this cold open. It's a gradual thing. So you're also seeing like people materialize in front of you. That's horrifying, right? Like I never really liked the way Spider-Man: Far From Home handled it, because it really is like this devastating global event. But I really do think that they remedied it.
Lens of high school kids, you know
It
what
was.
I mean?
And truth be told, like from what we know now with episode 4, WandaVision episode 4, or the entire series as of right now, takes place like 3 weeks after the end of Endgame. Spider-Man: Far From Home takes place 8 months after the event of Endgame. So like people had some time to process it, I guess. But it was excellent.
I just want to add to what you're saying. The one thing I like about Endgame was when Captain America was with the council of people that left the blip. And I
Yeah.
wish we got more of that, because that shows more of the human side of the world that we live in, of heroes. And that's something I wish we got more in a serious tone, because people lost their wife, the kids, their grandma, their uncles and aunts. So I wish we got that more conversation. Like James said, like it was kids in high school and it made as a joke, but this is real. People lost their lives, lost their family without having no real answers and all. And I'm happy that we got that for the first 5 minutes or 2 minutes. And her finding out that her mom passed like 3 years ago and she did not know, and knowing that she was like a worker of sword and everything, so fascinating to see that already progress. And each scene was so important because it gave so much information, so much Easter eggs, so much story of characters already showing that's gonna be coming up much later on. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I would watch a whole Disney Plus show just about people coping with that 5-year period. Like
I would.
average people though, like
Yeah.
no superpowers, just like how did the average Joe deal with this experience? It'd be so interesting.
Yeah, just like a mini series would be great. Yeah, but just like it's crazy for Monica to wake up to realize that her mom has been dead for 3 years while she was right by her bedside. Like it's crazy, and to find out, I love that this episode told us how long that sword's been around. It's been around just as long as Shield, which is absolutely crazy to think of. And Maria Rambeau was one of the founders
Which
of
makes sense.
Sword, which is crazy. So I
Well,
love...
it would have been founded in the 90s.
right.
So like
My bad.
she would have founded it like after the Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah, because
Shield was-
Shield, because Shield is much earlier because of Peggy Carter, so it makes sense.
Right. But still,
Yeah.
it's been around for a long time within
Yeah.
the MCU, and that's a really fun detail in terms of world building.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then they pretty much tell you with that shot of the sword base where you see all of the space shuttles. It's like, yep, Sword started off exactly how we know it is from the comics, where they handle like the extraterrestrial stuff in space, like the cosmic entities of space. We're still going to get into that. I can't wait to see a Sword agent interact with the Eternals. That's going to be dope.
Yeah.
But they've realized that Earth needs their help too. Shield is gone, and they have to be the new symbol. And I love that. There was one thing that I wanted to bring up. Tyler Hayward he's a Skrull. He is
I was thinking that too.
100% a Skrull. I'm
If
calling
he's
it
not a
right now.
scroll, he's definitely an asshole. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh hell
Uh,
yeah! The way he treated her, I'm like, but the scroll, that could be the way to start it, because that's how it started in the comics. That always the one in the leader position takes the scroll position. So I can see where you're coming from, James, in that. Maybe.
Also,
Yeah.
did you guys notice that nobody refers to him as director? He's still the acting director after like 3 years of Maria Rambeau being dead and Monica
Because-
Rambeau not coming back. So like for 3 years he's been like the false leader of Sword. That must grind on him. Nobody cares about him.
No, not at all.
But
So
it's
yeah,
be-
I mean, I think he could be a scroll.
But it's just because she said it, like he was placed there. He was never given the position. It was more
Right.
like he was filling the spot. But now that she's back, technically that's her position, since her mom was the one that was in charge and she's the one that's next to one to take the lead. But now she got pushed to the side for a side mission, where I could agree with James. Maybe he said like, okay, I should push this girl away because she knows the in and outs. So maybe that's why James could be onto something.
Yeah. Another thing that we find out is that Westview is in New Jersey, and I love this scene where Monica meets Agent Wu.
Randall Park, yes.
I was so happy about that, because in episode 1 I was like, there's a bunch of Agent Wu references in here. Like this is crazy. And then we finally get to see him, and I love that interaction with the cops. It's like they're standing right next to the Westview sign, and to them, the entire community doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
I love it. It just shows the magnitude of Wanda's power, and I love that they're leaning more into her hex powers, right?
Yes.
We also get the return of Darcy, which I thought was awesome, by the way. And she brings up the fact that the energy bubble is giving off radiation that hasn't been seen since the Big Bang. As you guys know, the Infinity Stones were created when
Because
the
of the
Big Bang
Yep.
happened.
Right.
And
So
we
that makes
know that the
perfect
Infinity
sense.
Stone gave Wanda her powers. So it's all coming full circle. Like there's so many deep cuts in this episode.
And plus, to add to what Jen just said, that Wanda's powers come from the Reality Stone. That's where her powers are originated, and that's what changes, because it's changing the reality of people's mind, the way they perceive things. Because those cops even said, "Oh, I come from Eastview." I'm like, there's literally Westview right there, and you guys do not see that whole big sign saying there's 3,000 people in the town.
That's
I'm
such a
like-
great moment where she's like looking over at the sign
Yeah,
and then
she's
looking
like-
back at them.
Like,
Yeah.
Eastview, really? Eastview, okay. So I guess you're from that side.
I
But-
do want to take a moment to backtrack a little bit
oh yeah.
to James. You mentioned when Jimmy Woo meets Monica Rambeau for the first time. I'm so glad that the close-up magic gag came back.
Yeah.
In
Oh.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's like astonished that Scott Lang can do close-up magic because he's been on house arrest for months and has like developed all these really wacky skills and hobbies. So it's a really funny callback to him like flicking out his business card to hand to her. Like it's so ridiculous. I literally laughed out loud.
Yeah.
My wife was like, "What's wrong with you?"
It's hilarious. I just love that Randall Park is both in the MCU and the DCEU. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I love him so much.
He
Like,
was in Aquaman.
yeah,
Oh wow, I forgot he was in Aquaman. Wow.
yeah. I hope he has like a really big part in this series. I hope that Sword like recruits him. Honestly,
That'd be great.
someone
Zendo-
it was Brian. Someone brought up Brian brought up hexagons that was on a board. Like, what do you think that means? Do you think it was just like a simple nod to her hex powers? Like what do you think?
So I don't really know what the hexagons mean at this point in time, but I really do love that scene. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about this episode is how meta contextually this episode is. Because for the last 2 weeks, as fans, we have been dissecting everything in all these episodes, and it turns out that Sword is literally asking the same questions we've been asking for 2 weeks. What do the hexagons mean? Is Vision alive? Who is behind this? Skrulls? Like, it's so vindicating that literally the characters in the show outside the bubble are on the same exact page as all the fans who've been doing deep dives into this particular show.
And I want to add how Darcy is like us, the fans. Like, she's also playing as a scientist, but also us defense because she's watching it as a TV show and she's
Right.
crying like, oh, they just had 2 boys. I'm like,
She's
that's
invested.
Like, yeah, like,
Mhm.
and she said those words like, it's because Randall Park asked her like, are you crying? Like, well, I'm invested. Like, I just literally watched the 1950s, the 1960s, and then after she said we're in the 1970s. So I love how this episode literally connected the past 3 of what we saw and what she saw in her perspective from the whole radiation of what was going on in the TV show aspect.
James, to answer your original question though, with the hexagons.
That's a great.
One more time. I'm sorry, I broke up for a minute.
Yeah, because you froze, James.
Is he
James
there?
froze.
Oh,
All right,
no.
so while James froze, I was gonna say that Randall Park, he is in every episode from here on out. So I don't know if
Right.
that's spoilers for other people because I did check the IMDb as well for him, and he's in most episodes going on right now. So I'm can't wait to see how he's gonna be connected from here on forward and for the next future episodes.
I'm excited to see it too. His interactions with Darcy,
Oh, it's
or Kat
amazing.
Dennings, they have a fantastic dynamic. It's so funny. James, to answer your original question about the hexagons, yes, I definitely think it like the most basic level. I think it's referring to Wanda's hex powers or chaos magic, which we really haven't seen a whole lot of in the MCU so far. I think there's a deeper meaning to the hexagons than just that, but I'm not quite sure what it is yet. In this episode, at the very end of the episode, we hear Monica Rambeau say, like, it's Wanda, like it's all Wanda. She's accusing Wanda of being like the mastermind behind everything that's taking place in Westview. But I'm not fully convinced
Same here.
that that's
Yep.
actually the case. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I think the hexagons have a deeper meaning, though. Maybe
Yeah, I can't.
something satanic. We'll see.
Maybe.
That's what I was gonna lead into because if you have seen Doctor Strange when he does the magic circles in the comics or in the cartoons or in the movies, there are always hexagon type of form with circles as well. So if you guys can know, Doctor Strange and Wanda's type of villains and what's happening with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, this could be connected with how Doctor Strange might come in the end of the season or something. Who knows? But it's possible where the hexagon could be connected to the villains like Dormammu or the characters that we might see, where they could be connected with Wanda.
Yeah, there's so much that there's so many Easter eggs that you can lay into other things that's gonna happen in the future of the MCU. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, but something that I wanted to talk about was Vash, how you brought up that this episode pretty much just showed Sword's perspective of what was happening over the past 3 episodes. So let's talk about that, right? We know for a fact now that it was Darcy sitting there watching the screen at the end of episode 1.
I was right
Yeah.
from
With
2
the-
weeks ago.
notebook. That was dope. I did not expect that at all. When we see the beekeeper coming out of the manhole, it was just a sword agent, and when he went through the barrier, it changed him to fit the time period, which just shows like how amazing
And
Wanda's hex
detailed.
powers are and how detailed they are, that her powers automatically changes everything in the space to fit that time period. I also love that one of the sword drones just turned into a helicopter toy from that time. Like, I just love all of the little scenes where Wanda just starts to break away from her reality. And let's talk about how amazing Elizabeth Olsen's acting has been in
She's
these
been
last
great.
episodes. Oh my god, when we see the other perspective of when she throws Monica out of the reality,
Yes.
the acting, like just her facial expressions, it was amazing.
Going from like manic, happy-go-lucky 1950s and 60s housewife to vengeful Sokovian Scarlet Witch. There's so much in between
Range.
those two characters. It's incredible range. And I really appreciate that Wanda and Vision are finally getting some focus here, because we've seen so little of them in the films in the MCU, and they're such interesting characters, and there's so much you can explore with the two of them. They have a really fraught relationship in the comic books, and the show is fantastic.
So, from what the chat said, for those that like Wanda right now, you guys should read the comic of House of M, because if you like this version of Wanda, that's how she is in the comics, the actual Wanda version that we want to see in the MCU, and we're getting her now. And this episode confirmed me and James' thought/theory from last week. If what she makes, if what she changes comes to real. For example, we saw the bookkeeper, the whole changing outfit. We saw the character being thrown down and still wearing the same clothes. So if she has the same clothes, that means those babies, those twins, are real, and that
Real,
means that
bro.
that means those.
Or at least she can make them real.
Yes,
Yeah.
that she can make them real. Even though I don't know how she kept the other organism of Vision, but that's a whole different question. But now the question is that is she gonna bring Vision back to life, or is somebody else gonna help her to bring him back to life? Now that's the question.
I think it's going to be Wanda and Shuri, because I feel like it would be wasted to not talk about the fact that Shuri was trying to literally remap and rebuild Vision's brain. I feel like, I mean, because Wanda could just bring him back, but I feel like it would be wasted to show that in Infinity War and then just not use it at all. So I feel like there'll be some type of combination between those two. Chris, what do you think?
Possibly, from just going off of what we've seen in the show, and Vash brings up a really good point in that her constructs in Westview, when they leave the barrier, are still manifest.
Yep.
Right. So, for instance, when the beekeeper's tether turns into a jump rope and Sword pulls it out of the sewage system, a portion of the tether is still a jump rope. We know that when Monica Rambeau got ejected from Westview, she was still wearing her 1970s outfit. So, like, whatever's taking place in here could potentially come to life outside of the barrier, as we just talked about, whether it's her two children or Vision, in terms of Vision. We get a really interesting scene with Vision at the end of the episode. I don't know if you want to dive into it right now, but as we know, Vision was killed at the end of Infinity War. What happens if a Wanda-powered Vision exits the barrier of Westview? Does he stay alive, or does he power down and crumple to the ground? Those are things we don't know. You know, based on the logic that we've seen thus far with how her magic works, I would say that's a possibility. If he were to leave the barrier while still powered, maybe that's a way for him to be brought back to life. And in terms of like him being powered by the Mind Stone, her powers are derived from the Mind Stone. So who's to say that she can't keep him alive on her own without an Infinity Stone? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Those are just some of the things that I think could potentially happen. But
yeah, that's
we'll
crazy.
see.
There's so many possibilities, dude. There's so many possibilities, and we can talk about the end of the episode. What happens? We pretty much get like a zombie.
Oh, it's
Vision.
horrifying.
Like I was actually stunned by looking. I'm like, oh my god, like how his eyes were like so white and like dead. You know what I mean? So I mean, like that's how he actually looks all the time. You know what I mean? And Wanda is just creating this facade of how Vision normally looks, but I can't get that image out of my head now. So every time I see Vision, I'm just going to see this pale dead corpse.
Yeah.
That is animated to walk around.
A living cadaver.
And it was terrifying for her because her reaction, it brings her PTSD to see the love that she lost and that she's trying to build him back, like trying to do a little nice bit of workshop. Instead of build an android, a nice little happy one, that husband that never got to be, that we never saw. So to actually see that her bring him like, no worries, honey, and she left. But then Vision looks like he's starting to understand what's really going on, but he doesn't want to ask too many questions because it shows that he's scared of Wanda, because he has a feeling that this is being caused by Wanda. So he's like, okay, I'm going to just hug my wife and just look all smiling.
He's definitely suspicious.
Yes.
After the episode ended, I was actually talking to my wife about what we thought was going on with Vision, because I think you can read that scene two different ways. I tend to read it the way that you guys read it, which is she is powering a Vision cadaver, and it's just walking around Westview. But I think you can also read it in in a way that she was just experiencing like a flash of her trauma. Like maybe she was just remembering what Vision looked like prior to creating this reality. So it's possible that that's the case. The former is absolutely horrifying to think that she has been basically just powering a Vision corpse. Everything we've seen in the first 3 episodes is just Vision's dead body walking around Westview, and she's acting as if nothing is wrong. It's
But
gross.
then does the people of Westview know that that's a Walking Dead Vision, or they just see what Wanda wants them to see?
That's my question, dude, because there's some people that obviously know that something's not right, but they also can't fight it too hard either. So it's like, where is the line drawn? Obviously, Wanda using this much power
Drains her.
it's why I think some people are able to slip through the
Yeah.
illusion sometimes. Because the doctor, he was like, yeah, we're not leaving to go on vacation. Like, I can't remember the exact line that he says, but it's like he's aware of what's actually
He says something like
We can't escape.
small towns, they're so difficult to escape, or something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like
something. But also, to bring back something about Darcy as well, she said that somebody is cutting the footage of what Wanda does. So, do you think it's Wanda herself that's cutting the footage that of what cannot be seen, or do you think that somebody else is doing it behind the scenes that we don't know yet?
I think it's Wanda. Every time something happens that she doesn't like that could potentially break her new reality, she
Yeah.
just erases it and starts over. So it's definitely Wanda, in my opinion.
I did like seeing the juxtaposition between the two perspectives, though, because we've been living inside Westview for these last 3 episodes. So we've only seen what's transpiring through Wanda and Vision's eyes, but seeing it from Darcy and the Sword Agent's perspective, where like when she cut Dottie's hand, they didn't get to see that. It
Yeah.
just kind of cut to the scene directly after that. And that's so interesting. Like you said, Vash, she's trying to hide all these negative pieces about the illusion from the outside world. But like, I don't know. There are things that I've been thinking about, like, why is she even broadcasting it? You know, what's the point of that? If she's gonna hide specific things from people,
Maybe
is she not doing it on purpose? It's what's the logic behind it? That's
it's
what
a
I
cry
still
for
haven't
help.
figured out.
It's actually a cry for help because she's a person
Maybe.
who lost her beloved. Like for those that lost a grandfather, an uncle, a friend, or something. Like sometimes you be in a dark place and you want to cry for help, but you're afraid to ask. So maybe like this is her way of like, hopefully somebody finds this type of broadcast and maybe somebody could save her, but also help her to bring
Yeah.
back Vision, like in a weird type of psychological way to bring Wanda back to reality.
Like a subconscious cry for help,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Possibly.
I don't know, man. There's a lot to unpack with WandaVision, and I did not expect so many deep cuts. I did not expect this show to be this good, man, and it just hypes me up for Falcon and Winter Soldier even more, because it's like, now that I know we're getting Zemo and a bunch of other different things, it's like this is going to go really in depth into the Captain America lore, what it means to take on the symbol of Captain America without actually being Captain America and trying to replace him. Like, I can't wait to see all of that stuff. There was some really cool Easter eggs in this episode. So Monica was in room 104, which I think is an Easter egg to Avengers Comics 104,
Mm-hmm.
where Trask takes Wanda and tries to use her hex powers to create a solar flare to eliminate mutants. And Vision and the Avengers had to come and help her. So I thought that was a really, really dope little Easter egg there. The director's office is room 101, which is another Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver story, which I thought was really, really cool.
Dude,
This is
anytime you
so-
see a number in the
It's
MCU, it's
It always means
reference to a
something.
specific issue.
Yeah. As soon as I saw 104, I was like, all right, I need to Google Avengers 104 and see what I remember. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That happened.
It is always important. Like back then when you start Guardian of the Galaxy, and when they say number 2738, you know it means something. Some type of Easter egg for Guardians, or Easter egg for the whole characters that we know of, or when it was released. Like those things are very important, and I love how small things they care about for us as fans.
I agree.
Yeah, I am so excited for what's to come in WandaVision. I hope they get a season 2. If not, I'll be okay because it does continue into Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange. So I
Yeah.
would be okay, but I just need more of this, man. Like this show is just so good.
What's
So
great about the MCU though is that there doesn't necessarily need to be a season 2 because all the characters are connected. So they could literally just create these mini series on Disney Plus. They don't have to be season 2s. They could just be their own separate things, you know?
Yeah. So Brian brings up a good question. Like, I didn't get a chance to research this, and I don't know, but the characters that were on the bulletin board, like, I don't know if they're comic book characters. I
They're
don't
not.
know. Okay.
same here. They're
Yeah,
So I
not.
don't know.
they're just citizens of Westview.
Okay, I didn't know
There's
if
no
any of them
reference to
had any
comic books.
type of significance to the comics in any way.
But
But
speaking of that bulletin board, I
hit me.
really love what they're doing. How they're like grabbing the driver's license for every character in the sitcom that they're identifying. If you look closely at the bulletin board, Agnes does not have a driver's license. So I still suspect that she is maybe not literally Agatha Harkness, but a version of her adapted from the comic book. She has to be involved in this on a more sinister level somehow. I'm just calling it right now.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I was gonna ask you guys before we left this segment and everything. Do you have any theories for the next couple episodes or next week episode? Like, do you have any theories of what you think could happen? Wanda, where we're gonna go? Sword. What's the next? Because we next episode we're gonna see the 1980s. So do you have any type of theory of what's gonna be happening?
Outside of just experiencing the 1980s sitcom, I think we're going to gradually see Vision and Wanda come to a head in terms of what's transpiring in Westview. I think Vision at some point will have enough and confront her about it. So we might see a fight between the two of them. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he already has confronted her about this world and just how like the kids were created.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Like, why is this Vision questioning all of these things if it was created by Wanda? So there's just so much more to it that I want to understand. You know what I mean?
It could be, she loves him, obviously. So she might be a little more lenient in terms of like how much agency he actually has. Like, what's the point of being with somebody if you're 100% manipulating that the person manipulating the person that they are. They have no unique personality to them. You want to be with somebody because they're interesting and different from you, and you two complement each other in some way. So if she took full control of Vision, I think she would lose a lot of the things that she loves about Vision.
Yeah,
That's just my take on
that's a
it.
good point.
I
Brian,
agree.
I swear, if Vision does a line of cocaine with his coworkers,
I was
That'll be
reading that. I was reading that, and I'm like, well, Wolf of Wall Street and those things that we have seen, and the '80s was known for the mafia and everything, and we might see that if it's the '80s because that's what I thought the whole theme it was about.
It's still gonna be wholesome 80s sitcom, guys. I mean, I don't think we're gonna reach that level. Also, if gum messes him up to that degree, then Coke would I don't even know.
Oh
what would
my
happen.
god, he will explode. The head will pop up, or she might have another type of seizure, seeing the whole forehead explosion type of. Ugh.
oh man,
But I do agree
Yeah.
with what Chris said. I think they will have their first fight, and I think they will have their first disagreement. I think Wanda will lose control a bit more. So I believe that will happen because in all type of marriages, in all types of couples, there's a fight, and one way or another, it doesn't turn out good. And I think in this one, Wanda will learn that not everything is flowers and daisies. Like, things is not going to be happy for this next couple episodes.
Right.
yeah. My last question before we move on to main topic number 2 is, what do you think the growth rate of these kids are going to be? Like, she had an entire pregnancy in 24 hours. Like, how fast will these kids grow? Like, are we going to see like Wiccan and Speed like at
They're going to
the
be 10
end
years
of
old.
So as of right now, Kevin Feige is definitely setting up Young Avengers.
Yep.
Like, absolutely. I predict that by the end of the series, we will have teenage versions of Billy and Tommy
Yep.
to become Wiccan and Speed for like a Young Avengers miniseries, or if you want to toss them in a movie. But if you look at like a lot of the Marvel properties currently in development, they have Young Avengers in each of those products.
Yeah.
So they're definitely moving in that direction. So I think they'll probably be teenagers by the time we get to the end of the show, which would be awesome.
My theory is that they're either 6 to 10 years old, because if we're going to jump from the 70s where she gave birth in 24 hours and then next episode's the 1980s, they're either should be 10 years old, since 10 years later, or the minimum 6 years old. So my maximum 10, minimum 6. That's my guess of what their age could be, because if they're going to jump from each 10 years, is most likely my guess.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
she's
a good guess.
switching it up, but I don't know if the kids will age that way too. But I don't know, man. We will see.
Going back to our theory that anything she pulls from Westview like becomes corporeal and real in like the real world of the MCU, I wonder how that time dilation works. Like if they are teens by the end of the show and she somehow pulls them out of the barrier, does it revert to normal time passing, or does it continue with the same time that was inside the barrier?
I think it will.
I would guess that it's like the latter. That time would revert back to normal flow.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, you want to keep them that age so that you can milk the Young Avengers. I mean,
yeah.
So I definitely think that's gonna happen. That's a great theory.
Yeah, because you don't want them to turn to Captain America within the next 24 hours, like just go from young to old within like a short time.
Right.
Like, I'm also looking forward to Captain Marvel too, because I really want to see Monica Rambeau meet up with Carol again, because she hasn't seen her since the events of Captain Marvel, right? Since like the mid late 90s. So it will be great to see her and like how they're going to interact with each other. I would love to see how Monica is going to get her powers, like because they have to give her powers.
Do you think the powers will manifest in WandaVision, or do you think she'll get them in Captain Marvel too?
I hope in Captain Marvel too.
Same.
I think WandaVision is a little too stacked to just throw that in.
I agree.
At the end, I would love to see that in the movie though. How? I don't know.
Yeah, I have one last question. Do you think we'll see Nick Fury involved in any way within the last couple of episodes? Because Nick Fury was involved with bringing Wanda to the States, bringing her to the Avengers, and he was involved in that. And since Nick Fury knows Wanda, maybe he could help her. Like, hey, Wanda, is me, Nick. What's going on here? I was in space. I had to come back to Earth. I don't like this dirt place no more. So, do you think he will come back in any type of capacity?
I don't think so. I think it's more likely that we see Doctor Strange at the end of this series than Nick Fury, only because, like you said, he is kind of still up in space with the Skrulls, and he's going to have his own series with Secret Invasion coming out in the next couple years. So I think it's unlikely. It's not totally out of the realm of what could happen, but I personally wouldn't bet money on it.
Yeah, I think the same thing, because like we already alluded to, like Far From Home is 8 months after Endgame, and he's been in space that whole time. In my thoughts on it, I think he's been in space that entire time. But I would like to see him show up like in like a season 2 or something, because I feel like he needs to interact with Sword in some capacity, because he's already a part of Sword right now, where he's on that ship. So I want to see him at the like Earth branch of Sword. Right. And just to see that all connected. And I want him to be the one to crack the fact that I think that Tyler's a Skrull, man. I see it like when I see him, I'm like, knowing that Secret Invasion is coming, that dude has to be a Skrull. Like all of the division heads all across the globe are replaced by Skrulls. And I feel like replacing the director of Sword, that's a no-brainer, man. It's right.
Oh yeah, they're already like a cosmic-based division. The Skrulls are aliens. Like, it would be so easy to infiltrate.
And plus, not current director. He's the
acting director.
Yeah, the acting director. So not yet fully.
Right. Everyone under him's just like, that dude's a Skrull. We're not gonna make him a full director.
Yeah, like we don't trust him. He never goes home. He don't sleep. There's something wrong with him.
I also love the fact that there are different factions of Skrulls, because we know in the comics, in most runs, all Skrulls are bad guys, all Kree are bad guys, except for like Marvel, right? I love that there's different factions of Skrulls, because what we know, because of the Kree, the Skrulls have been scattered across the galaxy. So it would make sense that there are factions that are evil, that want to harm the Kree, that want to harm other
Right.
people.
Like radicals.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I like that that's something that they're diving into, and it's not so black and white that they're just evil beings.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It makes them way more interesting. And that was an excellent turn in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
You know?
And I love Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. Like, he's awesome. Because he's always typecast as the villain.
Right.
To see him just to, like, be laid back and just, like, crack jokes the entire movie was hilarious. But, did you guys have any other final thoughts on WandaVision episode 4 before we move on to main topic number 2?
No, I think we covered it pretty thoroughly. Does the chat have anything else to say?
Yeah, chat, do you guys have any other questions on WandaVision episode 4? Let us know before we move on to our most anticipated comic book movies and TV shows of 2021.
I don't know. Last thoughts. I'm just overall, I'm loving WandaVision. This drought of 2020 really took us from not comic book movies, TV, or nothing, and having this hit so good and just get better each episode, story continuity. It gives you theories, more questions than answers. I'm just very happy with the enjoyment I'm getting from WandaVision itself, and I just can't wait to see what 2021 has as a whole and what else could it bring for us.
Yeah.
Me too, man. It was a long wait.
Yeah, Pedro, I'm with you. Just give me episode 5 right now. I just need to know what's going to happen. I personally think we're going to jump back into that reality and just pick up with Wanda again.
Yeah.
We might get a little bit of what's going on with Sword, but man, just give me episode 5. I can't wait to see what these last, like, 5 episodes?
We've had
5
4
episodes
so
left.
far, so 5 episodes left.
Yeah,
And
I
then
just
Rat-
can't wait to see where that goes, how it ends. And yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Can't wait for that next.
In March, it's gonna be right around the corner.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right, so next main topic, we are going to be ranking all of the comic book movies and TV shows that is coming out in 2021, minus WandaVision, of course, because that's already started. So we're going to start off at number 8, because there's 8 comic book movies / TV shows that's coming out this year. So we're going to start at 8, do round robin, and we're going to work all the way down to our number 1. So Chris, I'm going to start with you. What is your number 8 pick as far as most anticipated comic book movie?
I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but my least anticipated comic book movie of the year is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Mostly because, I mean, I really wasn't a big fan of the first one. But to give a positive spin, I am excited to see what Andy Serkis does with this film. Yeah. That's the most exciting part about this movie to me, is that Andy Serkis is directing this movie, and he's the king of motion capture. So I'm very interested to see what he does. But I could take it or leave it, to be perfectly honest.
Same. Vash?
It's Eternals. Not because I'm not excited for it. It's just my least. Like, we haven't seen, like, all we know is about the cast. We have not seen no promo art, no type of poster, no trailer yet. Like, yeah, we're still 10 months away, 11 months away, but at the same time, it's like I know about the Eternals, but they're so small in the Marvel comics. Like, they play a big role in the overall grander scheme in some big comic runs, but the Eternals is just more gonna be a one-off movie, and a lot of people that are not comic book readers, like my girlfriend or my mom, they'll probably watch it, but they won't just probably watch it one time and just never talk about it again. So overall, the Eternals are my number 8. Still excited for it, but out of the 8 we have here, that's my number 8.
That makes sense. But you have to think about the fact that, like, grandmas now know who Thanos is. So yeah. Marvel's done a really good job at introducing these really wacky cosmic characters to, like, average cinema goers. So I'm not totally going to discount it as potentially being, like, this out of left field hit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, we have the benefit of hindsight, but I mean, that's what people said about Guardians of the Galaxy. Like,
right.
Who Groot and Rocket were.
It's never going to work.
It's never. We're comic book fans, you know what I mean? But we're talking about, like, the general population. Like, They had no idea, and Guardians is so popular right now. I mean, Thor changed up its style, like its visual style and comedic style, and it's so much more like Guardians.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. Eternals could blow us away. My number 8 pick, like Chris, is gonna be Venom. Let There Be Carnage.
Oh,
I'm not alone.
damn.
Yes, I am.
I guess
I
I'm
am
not what-
very
who's excited
excited
for it.
to see Venom versus Carnage, but the first Venom movie, I think the first 40 minutes is absolute dog shit. It is the most generic dog shit nonsense that you can find in literally any movie. Go to Netflix, hit play on a random action movie, and it's the same 40 minutes. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it's very generic. So I don't have that much faith in Sony to not do the same thing and then just knock it out of the park in the last 30 minutes like they did with Venom. I think the last 40 minutes of Venom is actually really fun until we get to the CGI fight between Venom and whatever the fuck the other symbiote was. I thought
I
that
don't even remember. I
ridiculous. It
don't
was
remember his name.
pathetic. Have you ever seen the behind the scenes like footage of
Yes.
I haven't.
Riz Ahmed and
They're like
Tom
slow
Hardy?
motion wrestling against a green screen. It's so excellent.
I have not seen it, but now I do because wow,
Dude, you got to check it out. It's so funny.
I definitely
It
will.
looks so ridiculous. Chat, look it up on YouTube. It is so ridiculous. But let's keep going here.
And chat, if you do find it, please put the link because you're saving the trouble to look for it. But if you do find the link, please put it in the chat.
Yeah, let's continue here at number 7. Chris, what do you got?
So number 7 for me isn't too far off from Vash. Number 7's Eternals for me. Not because I'm not excited about it, but we know so little about what the MCU Eternals is going to look like. However, I do have to say, when I was making this list, I remembered that Kit Harington's going to be playing Black Knight in Eternals, and that thought made me more excited about it. So we'll see. I hope that it'll be a good movie, but we just know so little about it at this point. So that's why it ranks so low on my list.
Well, that's gonna be very interesting to say because my number 7 is Venom.
Nice.
Let There Be Carnage. This is very interesting so far. But as much as what James said, the first 40 minutes are booty cheeks. They are booty cheeks. They're ass cheeks. They're doodle cheeks. I don't know what other words I could add to the cheeks. But it is my guilty pleasure. I like Eddie Brock in the comics. And in the movie, it sucks ass, but it's enjoyable because of the actor. He's in Tim Time, can't remember. But
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, thank you. Tom Hardy played a good comedic role because he was talking to himself with Venom, but that's technically literally after the first 30 minutes. So overall, I enjoy it. I like Venom. My favorite comic book character is Spider-Man, and it's lore. I have a poster signed by Stan Lee and everything. It shows how much I love Spider-Man and everything. So just to see Carnage and Venom in the movie and actually done better than Spider-Man 3 in some retrospect, I enjoyed it. So that was my number 7.
Yeah, I definitely think it's better than Spider-Man 3
Oh,
for
hell yeah.
sure.
Hell yeah. Definitely.
James, you and I need to have a conversation off air.
We will. My number 7 is going to be Eternals.
Wow. Flipped.
Wow.
Because I mean, the only thing I've ever read of Eternals was when they interacted with someone else that I was reading in the comics. I was never drawn to the Eternals. There's nothing about them that really interests me. What I'm interested in is the cast, right? Kumail Nanjiani.
Dude, he is ripped.
Yeah. Brian Tyree
Crazy.
Henry, Angelina Jolie. Like the cast is great. I believe in Kevin Feige, and Feige we trust. So I know it's going to be good. But as far as just hype, I don't have any for this film right now. I just have to wait for it to come out, and we'll see what happens. Keeping it going at number 6, Chris, what do you got?
The Suicide Squad. Again, like I trust James Gunn. I think it'll be a fun movie, but there are movies on this list that I'm more excited about. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I hope that it still comes out on HBO Max. Over the last year, I've been pretty selective for when I leave the house. So just the fact that I might be able to see it at home does get me excited about it. But it's not my most anticipated, so it falls lower on the list. It'll be fun though. I think it'll be a fun movie.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Vash?
I'm stuck between Black Widow and Suicide Squad, but I'm gonna put Black Widow because
So low.
Damn.
Damn.
Because
Okay.
no, because I'm excited for Taskmaster. I like Black Widow in the comics and everything there, but it's just what we've seen with Scarlett Johansson is just more of her tight suit, not as the actress how good she is as the role of Black Widow. So if we could see that in the movie, I would be excited for it because hey, I have very underwhelming thoughts. If I go in excited and come out great enjoyment film, that's even better when a film actually blow my expectations. So it's just Black Widow was so underwhelming throughout the MCU because she was underused. And sadly, Disney Plus was not out earlier in the streaming stages. So hopefully maybe if they want to add more story of Black Widow as a character in the future, have a Black Widow type of miniseries of 6 episodes showing her in different times before we met her in Avengers time. So I don't mind. But Black Widow's still number 6. It's not that low, but just low.
I hear you. And you make good points too. Like, I mean, I do think that Black Widow got some incredible time to shine in Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
And that's like
but just
a
moments.
great what we're
But
gonna
like
get in Black
but out of
Widow.
23
her
films,
solo movie is way past due.
like it's really late in the game. So that's what I'm saying. Like 23 films, then you get a Black Widow film. It's like it should have been around the 14, 12 mark of the movies.
I agree.
It should have been before she died.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
Because I mean, I'm fine with it because it takes place like.
It takes place right after Captain America: Civil War.
War,
Like
that's-
literally right after that movie, to my understanding.
But at the same time, if this movie never happened, would we really still miss it? So that's what I'm like. I'm excited for it. I like ScarJo, but at the same time, it's just 6. Still excited for it.
Understandable.
My number 6 is going to be Suicide Squad. The Suicide.
What is happening right now, James?
I am very excited for this movie. I think James Gunn is a great director. I think he was made to make something like Suicide Squad. But I don't care about the Suicide Squad, right? Like I can't say that I haven't read the comics because I have, because there are some really good stories. But I don't really care about Task Force X. Like it's not my thing. I don't care about watching them go on missions. Like Amanda Waller isn't my favorite. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm not hype about the movie. It's just there are other movies that I'm way more hyped for.
I'm excited to see David Desmalchin play Polka Dot Man. That's gonna be
Right?
awesome.
That's gonna be awesome, dude. Like I'm very excited about that.
What a ridiculous character to put in a movie.
All right, Chris, let's keep it going. What's your number 5?
I just want to say I'm gonna freak out if our lists are exactly the same.
I think
Number
just
5
here.
for me is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
okay. We're already different.
Okay, that's a good thing.
That's good.
I'm excited for a kung fu movie in the MCU, and I think this film is going to add a lot to the mythos of the MCU. The Ten Rings, in terms of the overall universe that they've been building, is long overdue. Like they hinted at the Ten Rings in Iron Man 1. So I mean, hopefully we'll get a better version of the Mandarin. I know James will definitely be excited about that. So there are a lot of things about this movie that I'm excited for. But again, some of these other projects that we're going to be talking about just rank a little bit higher. That's why this kind of falls in the middle for me. Like, I'm stoked to see it. Can't wait to see what it adds to the mythology. But there are other things that I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah. Vash.
For me, it's Suicide Squad. I like James said before. I read the comics of Suicide Squad, Task Force X. I read Deadshot. Deathstroke has been in it. Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Lobo has been in it. Suicide Squad is one of my favorite teams in the DC Comics, behind Teen Titan, Justice League, and Justice League of America. I can name a lot more. The Green Lantern Corps and everything. But Suicide Squad is a band of misfits that are not all bad. Some are anti-heroes, just the way they execute stuff, and they all have all different reasons of why they did it. But Amanda Waller just has a vision of how she wants to save the world without heroes, but she wants to do it in a government way. But the way she does is by having a bomb on their necks or having in different aspects. But I just love the characters, and I like James Gunn, his vision. And if we have seen Guardian of the Galaxy, he does his vision very colorful, very crazy, very wild. And the snippet we saw, or the reel we saw last year at DC Dome, I like what we saw, and I have faith in James Gunn to do a better version of Suicide Squad instead of what we got in the first one, and it'll be a better version. Sadly, we're not getting Will Smith and a couple other actors back, but overall, I'm excited.
I think Warner Brothers just wants to forget that movie exists.
Which is fine, which is totally understandable.
They really
But
should.
I'm more excited to see also James Gunn do justice much better with Harley Quinn than the first one, because Harley Quinn is much better character that she's not a freaking sex appeal all the time. Yes, it's done in the comics, but more as a comedy or as a trope. But when you're literally having a feature film for almost 2 hours of a sex appeal, kind of gets redundant and boring. Like, we could just find those things in other places or in home fantasies. But to have in a film is not really important. But I'm excited for Suicide Squad. That's what's at my number 5.
He definitely knows how to direct delinquents.
Yes.
So I think he's going to
Perfectly,
have
yep.
a lot of fun with this movie.
My number 5 is going to be Black Widow. I'm really excited for this movie. I can't wait to see Taskmaster on screen. I've called it multiple times. I will here for the first time on Villains. Rachel Weisz is Taskmaster. I don't think you cast Rachel Weisz to be in this movie just to be some like extra person from Natasha's past. I think she's going to end up being Taskmaster, and I think that would be awesome to like switch it up and make Taskmaster a woman in this universe. I think
That would
dope.
be cool.
The only reason why I'm not as hyped for this movie is because I don't want to say it undermines her death in Endgame, but like we talked about before, I just wish it came before Endgame and we got to see all of that build up for Natasha so that when she does die, it's even more impactful. Yes, we've spent so many years with her, but I feel like it would have been more impactful to see her in her own movie, battling her past, her demons, everything that was released about her when she released all of that information at the end of Winter Soldier. You know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff that I wanted to see, and I just felt like it would be more impactful if it came before Endgame. And I'm just more excited to see the other movies on this list.
Yeah.
Quick thing.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, there are no stakes. You know, like we know that she lives. So
Yeah.
in any way that they threaten her, we know that it's not going to have an impact on the greater MCU, unless she like switches places with Yelena Belova or something, and it totally like recontextualizes what we've seen in Infinity War and Endgame. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, quick thing. I'm sorry that I'm about to mess up your guys' list right now because I have it on my list, but I just saw that you guys, sorry, James, you missed something. And that's Loki, the series that's coming in May right after Black Widow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
'Cause-
Oh my god, I'm sorry I missed that.
Because I had it on my list. I'm like, no wonder I kept seeing your list. I'm like, why do I feel like something's missing? And I'm
I can
like,
still squeeze it in.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I
I haven't
have
gotten there yet.
because I have Loki in my top 5, and I'm like, why is Loki not on his list? But I'm like, I should tell them before we get to number 1, and things just makes things worse. But
Thank you.
Yeah, my bad, chat.
yeah, because I'm like, hold up. But Chris, it's your turn. Sorry about that.
My number 4 is Black Widow. So it's kind of smack dab in the middle. And I'm really excited. I feel like I'm saying the same thing for all these things. I'm really excited for this project, but when it comes to Black Widow, it's been delayed so many times. And I've been on a roller coaster ride of emotion with the release dates for this film. Brian, one of my co-hosts, and Christian, the host of Pop-O-Holics, can attest to that. I just want it to come out on Disney Plus. But
Yeah.
the hype train has been so up and down for this movie that I'm just like, just let me see it already. I don't care when. Just put it out. Like, you have other projects to work on. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I want to see it. It's just not my number 1.
Yeah. Vash, let's keep it going.
So for me, number 5, which because we added one more number. Yeah, so number 5 is Shang-Chi.
Oh, true. My bad.
Yeah.
You're good.
It's my number 5.
Yeah. So for me, it's Shang-Chi. What's the full title again?
And the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yes. Because of what Chris said and James said, we're finally seeing the Mandarin, the actual freaking Mandarin that we have seen in the comics, in the cartoons of Iron Man, the Iron Man Adventures, that he's one of the most strongest opponent of Iron Man in the Marvel comics, because those 10 rings could change. It's almost as powerful as the whole Infinity Stones. It's just like a lower version of it for those people that don't read comics to understand. And I wanted to see justice. And for people that don't know about Shang-Chi, he's studying the same realm or Conkling with Iron Fist. So, and he's as strong or stronger than Iron Fist in close combat. Because if people want to search in YouTube or in Google, the search was the 10 close combat people in comics of Marvel, and Shang-Chi will be in the top 10. He's very strong, so I can't wait to see it. And also, one of the most beautiful thing is an all-Asian cast as well, and that's very beautiful to see.
That's a great thing, yeah.
And I love that because when you have a cast that's very diverse, and in a film that's called Shang-Chi, you should have an Asian cast because you're living to the hype of what it was in the comics to bring it. So I'm very happy of what Kevin Feige is doing with that concept of that movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's not be gods of Egypt and make Sigourney Weaver an Egyptian queen. Let's not do that.
So bad.
But my new number 5, that's going to be Spider-Man 3, which I am titling Spider-Man Home for the Holidays. I'm so hyped for this movie. Like you, Chris, I feel like I'm saying that for every single one of these because I am super hyped for every single one of these. But very curious to see how it fits into WandaVision, how it fits into Multiverse of Madness. Is this going to tease Spider-Verse in some way? How are they going to do that? Are we going to see any other Spider people? Will we see Spider-Gwen? Will we see Silk? Like, these are things that I'm really, really intrigued about. So can't wait for Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, Spider-Man 3 is my new number 4, I guess, right now. Yeah, Spider-Man 3 is my number 4. For all the reasons that you just mentioned, I'm just a little more excited about it, I guess, in terms of where we're ranking them. It's going to be so interesting to see those characters come into the MCU, like Doc Ock from a different universe and Electro from a different universe, and how he interacts with Doctor Strange. They have a really strong relationship in the comic books, and we've kind of already seen glimpses of it in Infinity War. So I'm excited to see how those characters interact. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And oh god, if this is a Christmas movie, I'm going to be so excited.
It
is, yeah.
It is.
We know that elements of it take place at Christmas, but we don't know that all of it takes place at Christmas. Like Iron Man 3 is the best Christmas movie of all time because the entire thing takes place at Christmas.
No, that's Die Hard. So. That's for Die Hard. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, this was the...
That's it, folks. I'll see you later.
What is your new number 4?
My new number 4, and James might hate me for this, is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like Falcon and Winter Soldier in the comics. I just like we said about Black Widow and everything. We just didn't get too much shine for them in the whole grand scheme of the 23 films that we have gotten. So I'm really excited for it, but not as excited as my other top 3. So I'm excited for Sebastian Stan. He's amazing for what he does, and wish he was the one that played Luke in something else I'm gonna say, but not gonna be talking about. But Sebastian Stan and Falcon, can't wait to see what he does, and to see Falcon accept the role as the new Captain America, to see how it's being portrayed from the comics to live adaptation for it, and how he sees himself as the new symbol, what he believes himself as the character, as the role. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. My number 4 is going to be Loki. Loki looks like it's going to be, again, so much fun. I love that we're going to get this version of Loki that we came to love in the beginning, right? We are getting Loki directly after the events of the first Avengers movie, who didn't have all of this character growth, who didn't go through all of this like bonding that he had with Thor and everyone else, who essentially became an honorary Avenger in my mind before he died at the beginning of Endgame. So I'm very excited for the Loki series. I'm very excited to see how the Time Agency is going to fit into that. I'm very excited to see if we're going to get any Kang the Conqueror Easter eggs, because this Time Agency has a lot of stuff to do with Kang and his time traveling. Yeah. So I want to see if we're going to get like the first like glimpse or just Easter eggs of Kang in Loki before we get to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumanium. So very excited for Loki. Tom Hiddleston is just so awesome. And to get to see him be the scumbag, the god of mischief that we know and love, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, can't wait to see it.
Yeah, he plays that character so well, and that's why it's my number 3.
Mm.
Again, just a little bit higher for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, for all this, again, all the same reasons that you mentioned, James, like time travel, Tom Hiddleston is Loki, the weirdest corners of the Marvel universe. Like, I'm absolutely here for all of it. And Loki's also my wife's favorite character, so I know that this is a show that she'll have a lot of fun watching with me. So that's always nice.
Nice. Vash?
For me, it's Spider-Man 3, and what James wrote is Home for the Holidays. Spider-Man 3, Tom Holland.
Not the official title.
Yes, not the official title, by the way, guys. Is what we just calling it right now. But I like Tom Holland portrayed of Spider-Man, the character, himself as an actor. If you put him as the MCU, I got different thoughts about that. But overall, I'm excited for Spider-Man 3 because I'm curious to know that they did it so early to have Spider-Man secret identity revealed. So I'm curious to know, like, how are they going to portray that? Where's that story going? Or are they going to just have it for the first 10 minutes and then everybody forgot about it? So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully they could do a good storyline with it. And like the co-host and everybody here said, we have other actors coming back. Dr. Octavius and everybody else. We have Electro and everything. Like, if all those rumors and everything is being said true, this film is going to be great. So I'm really curious to know, once we get a trailer within the next couple of weeks coming out, I can't wait.
You know, to your point, Vash, about them like potentially dropping the cliffhanger at the end of Far From Home, I don't think they will, because we have gotten stills of like posters around New York City that say citizens defending Spider-Man, and then there are also Mysterio posters that say like I believe. So I definitely think they're going to be different factions that exist that like believe that Peter Parker's Spider-Man or that he isn't, or like who cares, or like I stand with Mysterio, like Peter Parker's a menace, you know? So I think it'll be interesting.
And plus, to add to that, is because I saw a leaked picture of him walking down New York City in the snow in the Christmas theme, and he was just walking down the street, so like nobody really stopped him or anything. So I'm just curious to know what is the context. So like, is this halfway of the film where people accepted it that he's Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, or did somebody, Doctor Strange, say, all right, I'm gonna do a magic trick and everybody forgot? So I'm curious to know where we go with that storyline. So I hope they don't cut it off the first 5-10 minutes. Hopefully they do something with it.
First 10 minutes, Stephen Strange is like, forgotten. And then the movie just progresses.
Like, I got you. Pew.
I mean, you know what? You bring up a good point. Like, maybe it shouldn't be that big a deal. You know what I mean? Because everyone else's identity is out there. Like, there's no one else that has a secret identity. Everyone knows who everyone is.
Yeah. I feel like Spider-Man's rogues gallery is so vicious, though. They would take advantage of that information. And really go after the people that Peter cares about. At least that's what we've seen in the comic books.
Oh, they have. So. He has the most vicious gallery of villains that does not care who he is. He will, and they have attack on May. They have attacked Mary Jane and his other loved ones. So it's like he cannot do much about it if people know his whole secret identity. Like, what can he do?
Yeah. My number 3 is going to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Man, I can't wait for this movie. I've been waiting to see Shang-Chi for a long time now. I've been waiting for more diversity in the MCU, and to get I believe the director of Crazy Rich Asians is going to be directing this movie. All Asian cast. Like, this is going to be sick. I can't remember the actor's name right now, but he's been lobbying for this role forever, for years.
Is it Sam Liu? Is that his name?
Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah, he's been lobbying for this role for years, and he finally got it. He actually released a clip. It's not related to the MCU at all, but he released a clip of just like some fight choreography with like some friends of his, and it's just cool to see how charismatic he is while he's fighting, and you can tell that that's going to be in Shang-Chi, and I can't wait to see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in the MCU lens. I can't wait to see the real Mandarin and how they'll handle the Ten Rings. Like, I can't wait to see all of that stuff. So that's why it's up there as my number 3.
And
Simu Liu. Sorry, chat. His name is Simu Liu. Sorry, I knew I was wrong and I just wanted to correct myself.
Oh yes, it's fine. But I was gonna add about. I hope the Ten Rings also look great as well, because if they look great, those will be sold as great type of jewelry to buy. Because I would love to just hold some type of jewelry. If Marvel wants to kind of probably collab with K's Jewelry or Pandora or something instead, like have some nice rings as props. That'd be amazing.
It'll happen, definitely.
So
If they're releasing prop replicas of Wanda and Vision's wedding bands, we're gonna get the 10 rings.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, people will buy it. Like, it's easy.
I would
merch.
buy it. And just wear the 10 rings on my whole fingers. Hell yeah.
Chris, I am very curious to see what your top two.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see the order of the top two. I should say. So let's start it off. What's your number two?
Number 2, and this is crazy to me that it made number 2 because James knows how I feel about this entire cinematic universe.
I know
Zack
what it is.
Snyder's Justice League
Yep.
is my second most anticipated movie of this year, and we didn't talk about it, but today they released the release day.
Yeah.
And that it's actually going to be a 4-hour movie and not a miniseries like we originally thought. So
Yeah.
I'm down for that. I'll sit and watch a 4-hour Justice League movie. I'm mostly interested in this because it's setting a precedent that's never taken place in Hollywood before, where the fans themselves lobbied so hard to get this cut to come out that it actually came to fruition.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see one creative mind kind of finish his vision. You know, despite how I felt initially about BVS, the director's cut of that movie is okay. You know, I feel like that's the case with a lot of Zack Snyder's stuff. Like the director's cut, when he has full control, they tend to be okay. You know, enjoyable watches. So if I have to sit through a 4-hour Justice League to see like the true vision of what he wanted, I'm all here for it.
Definitely. Vash?
James, I have mine as Justice League Zack Snyder as well. But before I go on to know if you have it as well, so if we could just have a whole discussion.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So mine is my number two is also
Sweet.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. So now we can just talk about
Yeah, great.
the top two together. So why didn't you give your thoughts on why you put it as your number two?
It's literally exactly what Chris said, because if you really think about it, this is the first time this happened in all of freaking cinema that a bunch of fans is like, without social media, this will have not happened. Like back in the day,
Oh, definitely not.
a lot of people would have a newspaper trying to fill a whole ballot. Bring hashtag this whole Snyder cut. That would have not survived. But with social media, the hashtag continue being tweeted. There is usernames of bring back the Snyder cut. There's a whole Twitter account for it. So for it to be after many years later, well, like less than 4 years later, to actually have a version of a whole different movie, it's insane to know that this actually happened. And I love the Justice League. If people ask me sometimes Marvel, DC, it just depends on what issues or runs, but it's just like seeing the Justice League what I grew up with, Superman, Batman, Aquaman actually look good, not made fun of just like in Family Guy and everything. So to actually have good characters, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, what you can say about Wonder Woman 2, she still is a great Wonder Woman portrayed, no matter how it was the movie itself. She plays an amazing role. And
Definitely.
And to see Superman, Henry Cavill portrayed once more, and not the whole ugly ass mustache look on the screen, that with that much money you guys have and you cannot do a good ass job with it, very disrespectful to Henry Cavill. But I'm excited, and hopefully we see a better version of Ben Affleck where it's not just him just sleeping it in. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I am beyond excited for the Snyder cut. I was one of those people that just didn't think that WB
Yep.
would put the money into it.
Oh yeah, it was never gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that I didn't believe it didn't exist. It's like I know. It's like Brian said in chat, like Zack Snyder only got like 1/3 of of his film into the actual Justice
Yep.
League movie
Yeah.
that came out, and Joss Whedon made this dog shit movie that barely crossed $600 million. Can you believe that? A Justice League movie
It's
can't
crazy.
even make $1 billion. It barely made $500 million. It's insane to think about, right?
If you would have asked me when I was like I don't know, 14 years old watching Justice League Unlimited, if a Justice League movie would be successful, I would have been like,
Hell yeah!
absolutely. It would have been $1 billion movie.
Or more, like 2 billion, perhaps.
I can't believe how poorly that film did. It shouldn't have performed that way.
It's a garbage movie. Batman doesn't make quips. Like you ripped out all of the Victor Stone backstory. You ripped out all of the Flash stuff with Iris. So that's really the stuff that I'm looking forward to. There's so much backstory with Aquaman that we're supposed to have. Again, like I just said, with Barry and Iris. I want to see Ben Affleck as real Batman, not that bullshit that we got in Justice League. I hope that Ezra Miller's Flash is different, because I don't like his interpretation of the Flash in the DCEU so far. I don't like how, like, I mean, it's fine how awkward he is. There's nothing wrong with that. But I hate the way he runs. I think it looks really stupid. And I hate the fact that he's so, like, scared all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the Barry Allen that I know and that I recognize. Barry Allen is my second favorite DC character, period. So I was very, very disappointed by that.
I 100% agree, because Ezra Miller reminds me of Bart Allen portrayed version, not the Barry Allen or Wally, because Bart is the one that's scared to run because of his mistakes he has done, because he wants to live up to the hype of his grandfather and of his Uncle Wally and everything. So he has that much pressure on him. So when I saw Ezra Miller version, I'm like, why are you playing Bart? Like the version of Bart, you're supposed to play Barry. He's the one that loves to run. He's the one that has the idea, that concept that he doesn't want to make the mistakes he made because of his mom. You want to fix the mistakes, and that's what it is. It's like, why you're scared? You were supposed to run. You're always supposed to run and save all the others. You're not supposed to be scared. You have the speed to change, and that's what bothered me. It's like Barry is not like that.
Yeah, at all. Like, this dude is driven by a sense of purpose. For fuck's sake, he ran back in time to try to save his mom, realized that it would destroy the universe.
Somehow,
It's like, cause it would create a paradox. But I mean, just the fact, the promise, just like Batman, like, I will not allow someone else to lose their parents the way that I did. And this Barry Allen couldn't even just run into a room and pull someone out. Like, I just feel like it was done really poorly. Doesn't matter anymore. That movie no longer exists in my mind. I can't wait for this cut. I can't wait to see Zack Snyder's version of Steppenwolf.
Yes,
I can't.
Darkseid.
He looks awesome.
Darkseid, finally.
Darkseid. We're actually going to get more of the nightmare sequence that actually leads into Darkseid. Even though we're not going to get like a Darkseid full movie, because Walter Hamada has already said that they're not continuing anything after Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that's unfortunate. We will get Darkseid at some point, just not his version. But that's all the stuff that I want to see. And I am so happy that it's going to be a 4-hour movie and not 4 parts, because once I get to an hour, I don't want it to cut. Like, you're going to ruin the pacing of the entire story. So just give me the whole thing all at once, where I can just binge the entire thing all at once and just have a blast, man. Like, I am so looking forward to this movie.
Right. And it's going to be on HBO Max. So if you're a type of viewer that like needs to pause and take a break or something, you can, but at least you can watch it all in one sitting.
So my quick question about that, because you know how in the Zack Snyder Josh Whedon version we saw like a 2-minute or less scene of Green Lantern. Do you think we're gonna expand that scene with the flashback with the Amazon with Steppenwolf back then? Do you think we're gonna see more of that Green Lantern? Because even though they haven't spoken much about that within the recent coverage,
I don't think so. Not in Zack Snyder's Justice League anyway.
Chris?
Yeah. I don't think we'll see Green Lantern. I know that the scene with Alfred in the garage, wasn't that manipulated to be Green Lantern at one point? It was actually Superman in Snyder's cut.
Yes, it was rumor.
Yeah. But there was rumors going around that it could be GL. I actually wanted it to be GL. Actually,
if it was GL, cool. I wish it was John Smith, because as much as I love to see Hal Jordan again, like I just want to see John Smith on screen one day. Like I just hope to see
John Stewart.
Yes, John Stewart. Thank you. I don't know why I said John Smith.
He's my favorite GL. It needs to be a series. I think a Green Lantern movie will not work. And stay tuned for episode 4 of Villains, because that's actually going to be the main topic number 2 of the next episode, where we're going to be talking about movies and just movies that would work better as TV series. So definitely stay tuned.
Very cool.
So let's talk about our number 1 pick before we head out for the night. the Falcon and the Winter Soldier obviously is our most anticipated.
Well,
comic
it's
book.
at least our most anticipated. It fell lower on Vash's list.
I'm about to say
So let's not alienate.
yeah, for me it's minus Loki. Minus Loki.
There you go.
Yeah, minus Loki for number 1. That's what I'm excited for.
That's totally valid. That series is gonna be dope.
Would you want me to explain mine first, or would you guys want to go?
No. Go ahead. Go first, and then Chris and I will talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It's just that trailer just made me so excited to see Loki, and Loki is just portrayed so good in the MCU, and within the comics, with this trailer we saw, we're gonna see the whole female Loki. We're gonna see all President Loki, like all different versions within the universe of the MCU of Loki, and we're gonna see the Time Patrol of the MCU. Forgot what's their name, but I'm very excited to see that. And what it connects for the future of the series. Is this going to be like a season 2? Is it going to be more of Loki, or is it just a one-off season of his character? So I'm very excited because all we saw the growth and character development we saw of Loki himself within the whole 23 films is gone. This is just literally after Avengers. So he's still the whole sneaky brother. He's still the whole revengeful that wants to take out Thor. So he doesn't know what has been going on. So I'm really curious to know, how does this intertwine with the grander scheme of the MCU, or is this like a whole pocket universe of just side missions of Loki trying to fix the timeline because he's in trouble with the Time Patrol of the MCU version? So I'm really excited to see that, and I'm really excited to see each episode of how well WandaVision was, and to see Loki himself as the actor. He was so good. Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think it to me it's pretty definitive the way they explain the time travel in Endgame, that this is definitely a pocket universe, if you will, an alternate
Yeah.
timeline. So anything that happens after this has absolutely nothing to do with the main timeline that we know. So it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, everything that Loki does starts a future that's even further away from what we know from the main timeline. So that in itself is cool because they can do anything. They can
Yep.
bring Heimdall back. They can do literally anything because it's a completely different timeline. But
It's also perfect concept for the God of Mischief, you know?
yeah, it's amazing. Like,
Just wreaking havoc across the universe.
yeah, I can't wait, man. But Chris, we have the same number 1.
We
Falcon
do.
and Soldier.
Yeah.
Cap is my favorite Marvel hero. The reason for that is Cap is one of those heroes that didn't accidentally get powers. He didn't well, he did lose his parents in the war, but he didn't like accidentally get powers or was born a mutant and decided to use his powers for good. He is just a genuinely great person that saw everyone else putting their lives on the line to protect the people that they love, and he felt that he should do the exact same thing. You know what I mean? And that's what makes Captain America such a great hero.
Yeah.
And I think Bucky's amazing. I love Bucky Captain America. I love the Falcon, the Sam Wilson Captain America run. I thought that was great to see a black Captain America that wasn't trying to be Steve Rogers. He was his own Captain America. It never felt like they were trying to copy that. So that was great to me. So I am really looking forward to this series. I'm so curious to see how Zemo is going to play into this series. I want to know if he's like the main bad of the series, and much like
I think he could potentially be like an anti-hero, maybe.
maybe, I don't know.
They did say that we will see Crossbones as well during the series as well.
Isn't he dead?
I was gonna say he's very dead.
He blew up.
If anything, I probably misheard that it's either going to be in Loki then, because I heard that they're going to bring back Crossbones in some way. That's what I heard.
It would have to be something in an alternate timeline because he's beyond dead.
I think, isn't Frank Grillo credited for the What If series, the animated series?
I'm pretty sure
maybe
he
that's
is, yeah.
maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Maybe,
Could be, yeah. I could be
yeah,
wrong
but yeah, it's possible.
Sorry, I interrupted you, James. Continue.
Oh no, you're fine. It's just I'm very interested into, much like WandaVision again, like there's so many deep cuts. I want to see like how that's going to play into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like much like WandaVision, there was just those small little Easter eggs of like Hydra and stuff. I want to see something like that in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't know. I want to know more about Bucky's past. Like during missions that he was on while he was still the Winter Soldier. I want to know more about Sam Wilson. I want to see them grow and trying to be the symbol that their best friend was. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Very similar to yours. Captain America isn't one of my favorite characters in the comic books, but what Chris Evans has done with Captain America in the MCU, he is absolutely my favorite character in the MCU. He's the moral center and compass of every other character in the Avengers. And to be perfectly honest, I think his films are the strongest in the MCU. The first Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, even if you count like all the Avengers movies, like literally that one character has been in some of the best films that the MCU has to offer. And yes, this series isn't going to focus on the Steve Rogers Captain America, but the relationship that we've seen and the fun dynamic that we've seen between Bucky and Sam is so fun and so strong. And so far they've been shown to be characters that like really don't like each other, but they have this mutual friend, so they just like try to get along with each other. So it's this weird like buddy cop, odd couple dynamic that we're probably going to be seeing. And I'm just besides that, I'm really excited to see what Anthony Mackie does with becoming Captain America. Like we've watched him be Falcon over the course of all these films. I definitely agree with you that there's a heft and a weight to taking up that mantle, and I'm very interested to see what he does with this character, because I do think we will see him become Captain America by the end of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, I hope so too. Like, I'm so hyped for all of these movies, man. Like, it is a great time to be a comic book fan. It's a great time to be a fan of superhero movies, of Star Wars. It's also a great time for fandom. Like, what we're getting with WandaVision is amazing, man. Like, I feel like it easily holds up with any of the MCU movies. Like,
oh yes, it does.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to do the exact same thing, and so will Loki. There is just so much potential. And Kevin Feige, man, like, this dude, it just proves that it helps that you need someone that knows business, that can be a stern executive, but also who's a huge comic book fan. And that's something that WB and Sony is completely missing. Sure, DC has Jeff Johns. He writes stuff sometimes, but I don't feel like he's enough. And he's just a comic book writer. I don't think he has all of the skills necessary to pump out great comic book movie scripts. You know what I mean? Because
also, according to Ray Fisher, he's not a great guy.
Yes,
but we don't have to get into that. Sorry,
that would be a whole nother episode.
But I want to add to what you guys were saying. I'm also curious to know what happens in Cap and Falcon of Winter Soldier. Who are they working for? What type of missions they're doing? Like, who are they taking down? Like, I'm curious to know what's the grander scheme, and how does this connect to the grander scheme of the MCU? Like, why? Like, okay, they're working together, but who are they taking down? What is so bad right now in the year 2023? What's going on?
I hope they're not working with anyone, because I feel like that's against Cap's ideals. That was the whole point of him going against the Accords.
Yeah.
From what we know about the series, the limited amount that we know about the series, we know that U.S. Agent's going to be in the series, and I think he's going to be like the government's pick to be the next Captain America. And a lot of the show is going to be about the two of them maybe taking him down. I feel like there could potentially be a turn in the middle of the show where U.S. Agent becomes a villain, but we'll see.
And plus, if I'm correct, Agent 23 comes back in the show, right?
Yeah, Agent 13.
Yeah, Agent 13, yeah.
Sharon Carter.
Yeah, Sharon Carter. She comes back during the show, so I'm curious to see how does she add to the whole dynamic without Steve Rogers now.
And Maria Hill. Like, I'm curious to see like where she is, because we didn't see her with Nick Fury. I'm sure she's on the ship or associated with S.W.O.R.D. in some capacity.
Yeah,
but I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier would be a great place for her to show up.
Agreed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like where their allegiances lie, especially considering that like Bucky can't really work with the government. He's a terrorist. So despite what he's done behind the scenes, like most people think he's a terrorist. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It'll be a fun show. And it'll be very different from WandaVision.
Yeah, that's another thing, and I'm glad you brought it up that I completely forgot to bring up, was how will the world perceive Bucky Barnes? I mean, for 70 years, this guy has assassinated key people for Hydra. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So how will people look at him? Will they be able to get over it? Like, will they be able to understand that he was brainwashed? You know what I mean? Like, how will people feel about him? So that's a great point, and that's something that I really need to see from the show.
Well, I'm also curious to know that if they're gonna use what happened in the comics with Sam becoming the new Cap, are they gonna use the whole racism aspect in the film? Are they gonna use that like, oh, he's black, he should not be like we had Captain America, he was white? Like, I wonder if we're gonna use that in the actual film, even though in the comics was back in the early 80s and 90s, but the concept could still work until this day.
Yeah. The symbol of America can't be a darkie. What are you doing?
If
Yeah.
Disney had the balls to make that an element of
I hope
the
they do.
narrative, I would
I
have to
think-
give them props.
I mean,
I don't know if they do.
they didn't
but-
shy away from it in Black Panther.
That's
I mean,
true.
That's true. That is
Listen
true.
to most of Killmonger's dialogue. It's about Wakanda not doing anything while our people were
Right.
slaves. They did nothing while our people are being drugged on the streets and getting into the cocaine and being homeless. Wakanda could have done something. They have all of the money. They have all of the resources possible, and they did nothing.
Yeah.
So I would actually be disappointed if they didn't go into that stuff.
I'm sure it'll come into play.
Same.
This episode was too much fun, guys. Chris,
It was.
It was an
Dude,
honor.
thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah,
It was great talking to you guys.
This was awesome. I need to get you back on the show with Brian and Christian. I think that would be-
Anytime. Anytime you want, I'll come back.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. Vash, as always, thank you so much for being my co-host on this show. I absolutely love doing villains with you. It's so much fun going week to week, trying to find news for us to talk about and everything. So, yeah, man, thank you so much for being
It's
here
a
with me.
pleasure, and thank you for having me. And Chris, it was nice having you and to meet you for the first time. Because
Yes.
James always talks about you in your show. He also talks about you guys in your crew. So I'm very happy to finally meet you guys, and hopefully can't wait to see within the next couple of weeks and be on your show. And I can't wait for that.
We're excited to have you, man. And I'm excited for all of our future conversations, too.
Yeah, it's
Definitely,
gonna be
likewise.
awesome. So Chris, give everyone all of your plugs. Let them know where they can find you online, Pop-O-Holics online. What do you got planned for Pop-O-Holics in case someone wasn't around at the beginning? Give them all your plugs.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me personally on Twitter at Chris Conkling. And then, of course, Pop-O-Holics has a multitude of different social networking platforms. You can find us at Pop-O-Holics on Twitter, at Pop-O-Holics on Facebook, and then at Pop-O-Holics Cast on Instagram. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, every month we pick a new theme and we plan our episodes around that particular theme. This month, we are focusing on creators. So we're having various creators from different podcasts and platforms on the show, and they're picking out different pieces of media, and we're going to talk about it. So come join us.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. You guys can also find Chris's plugs and the Pop-O-Holics plugs in the description below. You can actually click the link and go straight to their podcast to subscribe. Like I said in the beginning, they're literally my favorite podcast right now. I love talking to these
Thanks, dude.
guys. They do 2 podcasts per week. One is the weekly upload on Mondays. Then you'll get the regular episodes on Wednesdays. So definitely stay tuned for that. They have a great show. They have great conversations on that show. And they tend to disagree a lot with each other, but yet
Yep.
it's still a great conversation. So definitely check them out. Vash, give the plug. Give the audience your plugs.
Just follow us, me, myself, on Twitter and Anime Lately is the links down below, like James said. And you can listen to us on the podcast with James, myself, Ray, and Sam on every Thursday weekly show and every Sunday for our manga streams and everything else we do on Anime Lately. And thank you guys for also getting Careful Spoilers channel past 400 subscribers as well. We gladly appreciate that.
Congratulations, you guys. That's so awesome.
Continue
Thank you
for
so much,
subscribing because I know James appreciates it and he wants to get to 500, then 600 and more. So we appreciate that very much.
Yeah. You guys know you can find me right here. I'll be doing reaction videos coming up over the weekend and early next week. Stay tuned for episode 4 of C4S Villains. Like I said before, main topic number 2 is going to be all about movies that should have been TV adaptations. And I can't wait to talk about WandaVision episode 5. You can find all of the links to my social media, the website, all of that stuff in the description. And guys, thank you so much for joining me every single week. You guys show up and you contribute so much in chat and to the conversation. You have
Thank you.
no idea how much I appreciate you guys just showing up and watching me and Vash and Chris just talk about the things that we love. So thank you guys so much. And until the next episode, we will see you guys on the next one.